Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Becoming a Dimension Mephista will cause trouble. Chapter 31. After Agent Chin told Tony what happened on Earth, he stepped forward to exchange information with the ninjas. Not to mention his identity as a SHIELD agent, he himself is also very interested in this kind of existence from Otherworld. Tony stared blankly at the heated exchanges among the people. He just felt that his understanding of the world was very biased. Could it be that he had just awakened and traveled to a parallel world? Although he was thinking this way, his reason kept reminding him that he had not traveled through time, but that he had indeed encountered beings from Otherworld, and even Otherworld was originally experiencing the magical event of time travel. Suddenly, Tony thought of his adventure, the Forum of Scientists in the Sky, where he might be able to find information about the ninja world. Thinking this way, Tony no longer has any hesitation. Since only he can see the forum, he has nothing to hide. Opening the Scientists' Forum of the Heavens, Tony immediately filtered the posts and set the keywords to Ninja World, Ninja, Chakra, Uzumaki Naruto, Hatake Kakashi, and many other words he knew. Information. Soon, the number of posts in the forum suddenly decreased, leaving only 3. So few. Tony was very surprised, because no one knows how many people there are in the Scientists' Forum of the world. Just like this, the search for the ninja world turned out to be only 3 pieces of information. When did such a wonderful thing appear in the ninja world? Hidden, not visible to non-friends. On the change of the world's protagonist, the former protagonist Uzumaki Naruto has become much weaker, hidden, not visible to non-friends. Analysis of synthesis energy chakra, how to escape from the limitations of chakra seeds. It can be seen from the titles of these 3 posts that it should be a process that someone in the ninja world went from being confused after activating the forum for the first time, to getting excited after understanding the basic rules of the forum, and finally consciously wanting to break the restrictions of the world. However, Tony was surprised by the first and second restrictions, because this one was hidden and not visible to non-friends, which made Tony immediately think of the few netizens he had met. From the communication, it was obvious that the most friendly person was Calamity Wind. The others, including himself, could not easily expose the world they were in, not even close friends. If it is really him, he is really a trustworthy friend. With some expectation, Tony clicked on the first post. Interesting, just after the 4th Ninja War ended, is there anyone who wants to let the wind rise again, wind of disaster? Why is no one talking? Didn't you pull me into this illusion just because you wanted to cooperate with me, wind of disaster? There were only 2 messages, and it was just as Tony thought, it was his friend, Calamity Wind. With a smile on his lips, Tony didn't expect that Calamity Wind, who always looked like a philosopher, would have such a past that made people laugh. It seems that I can tease him about this in the future. After getting the information he wanted, and even more information about the ninja world unexpectedly, Tony clicked on the second post without stopping. As the protagonist of the world, Naruto Uzumaki, after the end of the 4th Ninja War, his strength declined step by step. It should be said that not only the protagonist Uzumaki Naruto, the strength of the entire world is constantly declining. But Uzumaki Naruto's son made me feel the way Uzumaki Naruto once made me feel. Will the replacement of the world's protagonist, original, change everyone's strength, wind of disaster? This kind of thing is very metaphysical. You can understand the entire world as a work. Changing the protagonist causes the world's power to deflect. It can be considered that the author of the work has changed. In order to highlight the new protagonist, it is normal for the strength of the entire world to deflect, and you may encounter existences you have never heard of before, and these existences are very powerful. I am not an evil god. It's better to hide this post. You've exposed your identity, idiot. You have attracted the attention of an outside god. Guess which world's Einstein I am. Aha, I know that the Calamity Wind is actually Orochimaru, right? What a fascinating biologist. Also, you old man, I am not an outer god, I am not an evil god. The second post ended like this. Tony's eyes were full of solemnity. He was shocked by the content of the post and was also frightened by the 2 repliers who appeared. Although the username is, I am not an evil god, Einstein, who compiled the forum rules, said that he is an alien god. What are alien gods? It's not like there are no records on Earth. Although they are due to a certain novel and exist in modern fantasy, they are indescribable and are famous enough. Sure enough, no information that might reveal your identity can be revealed. There is indeed great terror in the world of heavens. Tony, who had learned another lesson, quickly clicked on the third post. This is a hidden post, intended to discuss with my friends how to break away from the limitations of the world I live in. Wind of disaster. Chakra is a universal power in my world. It originates from the sacred tree brought by the Otsutsuki clan in the universe. The sacred tree absorbs the nutrients of the entire world, grows, blooms, bears fruit, and obtains a chakra fruit. The goddess of Uo ate the chakra fruit and gained invincible power and swept the entire world. After a series of introductions, Tony finally understood the origin and composition of the power of chakra. After understanding this, Tony also knew that it was obviously unrealistic for him to use chakra. For ordinary people, the corrosiveness of chakra is enough to kill people. After all, there is a huge difference between the humans in the ninja world and ordinary humans like him. Moreover, as a product from an alien race, who knows if there is strong radiation? Well, you can go and test Obi. After all, Obadiah Stane is the ordinary person who has the deepest contact with chakra. However, it is not that chakra cannot be synthesized by itself, but judging from the information given, Tony thinks that it is more of an active process of feeding chakra than synthesis. After all, if you want to possess chakra, you first need to possess the seed of chakra, and then you must integrate your own physical and mental energy with the seed of chakra to get more chakra. This process gave Tony the feeling that he was feeding an alien parasite with his own life and spirit, and the ninja complemented the alien parasite to control extraordinary power. Symbiosis. Finally, Tony gave such a summary. Just as Tony thought, some of the replies below also have the same point of view. The people who replied were all friends of Calamity Wind in the Forum of Scientists in the Sky, and the replies that Tony could see were all friends he and Calamity Wind had in common. Unlike Tony, who is not familiar with supernatural powers, these people have been in the forum for a long time, so they have many interesting opinions on how to help Calamity Wind overcome chakra restrictions. After getting the answer, Tony felt a lot less anxious after gaining a certain understanding of the ninja world. When he looked at Naruto, who was shouting in front of him again, Tony never imagined that such an idiot could be the protagonist of the world. However, the timeline where Calamity Wind is located is more advanced, and this idiot already had his own child at that time. So, is the Naruto in front of him still a teenager? Is he a world protagonist at this time? Although he has a certain understanding of the ninja world, it is obvious that he does not know much and is even more incomplete. Especially for the current situation, it is basically not of much help. Do you want to contact Calamity Wind? Tony is tangled up in this. On the one hand, he is very wary of exposing information about his world. Although the timeline where Calamity Wind is located is completely different from the people in front of him, who knows whether Calamity Wind will be able to use it in some way. Get information about their operation this time. On the other hand, Calamity Wind's lack of defense against his friends made Tony very fond of him. Moreover, people from Otherworld have already traveled through this world, so there will definitely be more Otherworlds in the future, although he doesn't know exactly. As many as there are. Under such circumstances, it is important to have a knowledgeable foreign aid. In the end, Tony felt that it was better to make peace with Calamity Wind. He would not take the initiative to leak information about his world. If the other party really obtained the information about this world through his own methods, it would be the other party's own fault. Moreover, in his opinion, the other party is not an evil scientist like Dr. Grow, so he is worth getting along with. Friend, I have a little problem, can you help me, those cursed by knowledge? With anxiety in mind, Tony sent such a private message to the other party. The moment he sent it, Tony felt a trace of regret, he was still too reckless. It seems that he has become more and more anxious because of the news he received one after another. But having taken the first step, Tony had no intention of withdrawing. After all, no matter what, he would still have to come into contact with these things, it would just be sooner or later. In this case, it is better to choose someone you know and trust to take the initiative. After cheering himself up, Tony waited for the other party to reply to him. Soon, the other party responded to the message. What's the matter, Wind of Disaster? Tony quickly gave the question. My world has come and the travelers in your world are Uzumaki Naruto. Tony briefly told the other party about the situation at the scene, and after being told to investigate, Tony disappeared again. Looking at the unresponsive scene, Tony felt his mouth go dry. His heart was in a mess at the moment. He had clearly made up his mind, but he didn't expect that after taking this step, he would become indecisive. Just after Agent Chin and the ninjas were about to finish their discussion, Calamity Wind finally responded. Disaster Wind. I just went to ask the 7th generation Hokage, also known as Uzumaki Naruto. The news he gave was that he had not gone to other worlds, but because of Lulin's dragon vein chakra energy, he traveled through time and space, went to Lulin in the past, and met his father Namikaze Minato, who was on a mission in Lulin. Just in order not to affect the continuity of time and space, before returning, Namikaze Minato sealed the memories of all their participants when sealing the dragon vein chakra energy. During the 4th Ninja War, Naruto was enhanced by the power of the 6-Path Sage and broke through the seal, allowing him to regain this memory. These are the detailed information of that mission. I hope it will be useful to you. Looking at the dense information at the back, there are records about intelligence, information about Beizu, changes in Lulin, records about dragon vein chakra, etc. Tony breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he had made the right bet this time. Calamity Wind was indeed a good friend with good character. The other party did not ask about the situation in his world, but gave him such important information without hesitation. Finally, Calamity Wind also said, judging from the current situation, Uzumaki Naruto and his team who traveled to your world should be a parallel world of my world. After all, because of Namikaze Minato's seal, the Lulin mission was formed. The closed loop does not involve parallel time and space. However, to be able to allow so many people to travel through your world, it is very likely that Beizu has obtained something for people to travel through. If possible, I hope you can give me a piece of relevant information after confirming that it is safe. After all, I too am looking for hope to escape the limitations of the world. As a friend, the other party has helped him so much, how could Tony refuse? No problem, we can study it together. After all, the stakes are high. In order to protect the safety of the world, you can never be too careful. After closing the Zudian Scientists Forum, Tony quickly entered this information into his personal server. Fortunately, the forum has information about importing functions, so Tony is spared the trouble of programming it himself. Regarding how to use the forum, if he hadn't read the basic details at the top of the page, Tony would never have known that there was such a convenient function. However, thinking of this, Tony suddenly felt that he needed to strengthen the security of his personal server. After all, in addition to his scientific research projects, he also had his own steel battle suit, arc reactor design drawings, and many scientific technologies that he downloaded from the forum. If any one of them spreads, it would be extremely dangerous for the entire world. Tony has a clue about this, but now is not the time to think about this matter. The top priority is to immediately deal with Centipede, the existence that causes time travel. What method did this fool use to travel across the world? Tony felt itchy with hatred when he thought of Beizu making the world no longer safe. He had to understand what method Beizu used. With his worries settled, Tony immediately stepped forward to participate in the discussion. And he directly refused Shield's help. After all, in terms of understanding of science and technology, the Shield Gang couldn't compare to him. Therefore, they don't need to discuss too much, they are still the same people, just get through it all the way. Regarding such a reckless plan, everyone present looked at each other. They had no good solution to this, so they could only do this. Everyone entered the cave, and with Tony's strong technical support, they quickly broke through the upper scientific protection of Beizu Base. Although Beizu has the technical support of Obadiah Stane, and he himself also used ninja methods to improve these technologies. However, Obadiah was not originally a scientist, and the abilities of his engineers were an order of magnitude worse than Tony's. Therefore, no matter how Beizu improves it, until he has a thorough understanding of the science and technology of this world, all traps will be useless in front of Tony. However, these traps made the ninjas feel terrified. After all, they had never thought that there were such hidden traps. Faced with such a dangerous place, even if they don't miss any detail, there is no guarantee that they will not be damaged. Tony had a glimmer of understanding regarding this outcome. Not all worlds are in a state of being crushed. The personal strength of the ninja world is incredible to him, but at the same time, the technology of this world is also a dimensionality-reducing blow to the ninja world. Under the combination of hatchbacks, even a rough combination can produce a more intuitive effect. After receiving such an answer, Tony was no longer so repelled by Otherworld. After all, after seeing the higher scenery, he could never go down the mountain again. When we arrived at the lower level of Beizu Base, the surrounding environment instantly changed by huge amounts. It no longer looked full of technology, but a layout that was very familiar to ninjas. Various puppets are scattered everywhere, pipes conveying chakra, and chakra threads connect countless puppets throughout the space. Looking at it, people can only feel an inexplicable fear from the bottom of their hearts. When Tony saw this scene, he felt as if he was in a scene from the Omnic Crisis, which made his hair stand on end and goosebumps all over his body. These are all puppets controlled by Beizu. Everyone, be careful. Namikaze Minato, who has not yet revealed his identity, placed his special kunai across his chest and reminded everyone with a solemn expression. When everyone heard this, they formed seals, and those who took out their weapons took out their weapons. Even Tony, even though he had the information about the puppet master Beizu, he became extremely vigilant. Only Uzumaki Naruto, an idiot with such a simple mind that Tony wondered how he could get into the position of leader of a force like Hokage, rushed out shouting the slogan of defeating Beizu. Naruto. Sakura wanted to stop Naruto from being reckless, but unfortunately, Naruto's actions were so unexpected that he had already jumped out before anyone else could react. The person was in the air, stretching out his hand to form a seal, the art of duplication. Bang! As the smoke filled the air, Tony saw ninjutsu other than elemental ninjutsu for the first time. However, the shock it brought to him far exceeded the power of huge amounts of elemental ninjutsu. Tony looked up, and above his head, the overwhelming Uzumaki Naruto appeared in the sky with shouts and shouts. Then, these Narutos condensed a blue chakra ball from their hands. Multiple spiral pills. Naruto, numbering in the hundreds, shouted in unison, the sound causing the entire underground space to tremble slightly. Tony was stunned. Was this horrific attack really caused by that kid who looked like an idiot? At this time, Namikaze Minato put away the smile at the corner of his mouth, stared ahead and reminded loudly, "Everyone, be careful. Beizu has begun to control these puppets." And everyone also looked forward, and saw that the puppets who had been motionless suddenly raised their heads, and their eyes lit up. Then, these puppets rushed towards everyone at extremely fast speeds. The crunching sounds of the puppets' joints could be heard from all directions, making everyone in this underground space feel numb. However, at the moment is not the time to care about such things. The puppets were already rushing towards them like locusts crossing the border. Although many of the puppets flying in the sky were blocked by Naruto's multiple shadow duplication, there were still many fish that slipped through the net. Therefore, in the face of this human sea tactic, everyone at this moment also used their full energy and strong strength to resist the attack of these puppets. Tony activated the propeller of the steel battle suit and relied on the powerful attributes of the Mark IV to rush through the puppets. His hands constantly poured impact beams in all directions. Although the effect was minimal, it was not as effective as his own pair of iron fists, but it was still enough to clear a way forward for everyone. "Follow me," Namikaze Minato shouted. Without saying anything, the ninjas all rushed towards the deepest part of the centipede base along the empty path Tony had rushed out. As for Agent Chin, he stayed here to help everyone. No one is worried about this. After all, although Agent Chin's strength is not clear to everyone, they all know that the other party has been hiding something, and his strength is definitely far beyond imagination. It's impossible for these puppets to do anything to Agent Chin. It's just that Agent Chin doesn't have effective means of group damage, so he behaves so ordinary. Tony, who was charging ahead, dodged the pipes that filled the underground space. He suddenly reacted. Why don't we cut off these pipes? Then Beizu can no longer control these puppets. However, Namikaze Minato, who was following him closely, shook his head and retorted, "This solution will not work. Although Beizu can no longer control these puppets, he now controls the dragon vein chakra. Once he has no scruples, if we use more drastic measures, not only this base, but also the entire city will be greatly affected. Moreover, after the dragon vein chakra is leaked, it will come into direct contact with the human body. People in this world simply cannot bear the erosion of chakra, let alone the more powerful dragon vein chakra. When Tony heard this answer, he had to curse, what a cunning fox. So that's why he set up the base under the city. Namikaze Minato raised his own question at this time. I'm very confused as to why he didn't choose a big city with a larger population, but instead chose such a remote place. Tony can understand this. There is not so much space for him underground in big cities, and the people in big cities are complex, so it is easy to expose himself. Such a place with a population of 100,000 as hostages is also remote enough to not. As for where he was found, it seems that this Obi did his best for him. Since the enemy could not be eliminated with the most direct means, Tony had no choice but to lead the charge. Bombing all the way, passing through and killing everyone. Looking at the enemies blocking the way, Tony had to admit that Beizu's puppet was indeed very powerful. Especially the puppets that the other party has absorbed the science and technology of this world and incorporated various guns and weapons. In the eyes of Tony, a weapons expert, they are extremely amazing existences. If combined with remote control methods and sold, Tony believes that another arms dealer with countless profits will shine in the world. When the US military became aware of this weapon, the soldiers' treatment would be greatly reduced. After all, with puppets that could replace them, the soldiers would not have that much effect. While thinking wildly, he passed the tide of puppet army with the help of JARVIS. You Konoha ninjas are all stupid. We have come to a new world. This world is all about getting whatever we ask for. Why do you still stick to your mission? Why don't we join forces, so that we can dominate this world? This world is bigger than our ninja world. When passing through the puppet army, Beizu couldn't sit still. He constantly tempted the ninjas through the puppets around him, hoping to get them to cooperate with him and conquer the world together. Tony was most disgusted by such remarks. Why was he worried so much before? Isn't it to prevent such ambitious people from disrupting the entire world? Unexpectedly, it was just the first otherworld he encountered, and he encountered this extremely annoying existence. I really can't understand the thinking of people like you. What kind of magic power does it have to conquer the world that makes you so persistent? Tony complained angrily. Namikaze Minato heard Tony's complaints, but he didn't say much. After all, in the ninja world, there are countless such people, and their ideas are completely different, and there is no unified standard at all. Beizu, give up your idea, we will not agree with your philosophy. Although this world is big and prosperous, it is not our own world. Tony gave Namikaze Minato a thumbs up for his resounding rejection. However, these words angered Beizu. Yes. Compared with geniuses like you, no matter which world you are in, you can have a brilliant future, right, Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. Tony was stunned. Calamity Wind's information did not say that the man next to him was the fourth Hokage. It's true that a tiger father has no son. His father is the 4th generation Hokage and his son is the 7th generation Hokage. Unlike Tony's surprise, Namikaze Minato, although not yet Hokage at the moment, was extremely calm and was not shaken by the sudden news. That's just something in the future, it's not important to me now. One sentence made Beizu's words useless. Namikaze Minato continued, no matter which world you are in, genius is relative. I know many ordinary people. They are not geniuses, but they have reached heights in their respective fields that are difficult for others to reach. Belittle yourself and give up on yourself, Beizu, no matter how many reasons you give yourself, you are a complete loser. It has nothing to do with whether you have talent or not, you gave up on yourself. Motivated by what Namikaze Minato said, Momozu was furious, okay. In that case, I'll let you see my choice. In the angry voice, the dragon vein chakra all around suddenly erupted. Careful, everyone noticed the changes around them, and saw countless purple chakra energy visible to the naked eye spraying out from the pipes above their heads, falling to the ground like mist. As a mortal body, Tony immediately activated the energy protection of the steel battle suit to resist the erosion of the surrounding dragon vein chakra, and flew upwards with all his strength, avoiding the dragon vein chakra from burying him. After all, Namikaze Minato said that the humans in their world simply cannot bear the erosion of chakra. In an instant, an immeasurable mist of dragon vein chakra enveloped the entire underground space. Tony clung to the upper wall of the space, looking in horror at the rolling purple chakra wave right in front of him. JARVIS activated the energy retrieval function. Sir, the energy level here has soared by several orders of magnitude. If it breaks out, the town on the ground will be completely blown away. Tony swallowed. I can see. The methods of these ninjas are too terrifying. How on earth did they achieve this kind of energy like a nuclear explosion? JARVIS. According to Mr. Namikaze Minato's description, dragon vein chakra should be the result of the evolution of a naturally accumulated energy storage place over time. Beizu just used ninja methods to guide the dragon vein chakra and utilize it. Because his vision was blocked by the purple energy, Tony could not see the situation of the ninjas below at the moment, so he and JARVIS began to explore other situations. JARVIS. To be able to emit such a huge amount of dragon vein chakra here is probably not because the chakra has had any impact on the earth. JARVIS. Sir, according to analysis, chakra has no effect on inanimate matter. He mainly targets living species. Tony's eyes lit up. That means these dragon vein chakras are not produced through the earth, but come from the ninja world. JARVIS. Yes, there is an 80% chance that these chakras come from the ninja world. Before JARVIS could finish its analysis, Tony said happily, that is to say, deep underground, there is a space gate that connects to the ninja world. Just when Tony guessed that there was a space door connecting to the ninja world below, the rich and violent dragon vein chakra suddenly began to shrink. But in just a few breaths, dragon vein chakra had shrunk into a ball and entered the body of a puppet that was somewhat similar to Iron Overlord, but different at the same time. This puppet is the same height as the Iron Overlord, but the joints are not connected through technological means, but are connected by the substantial dragon vein chakra. In these unshielded places, the purple energy source constantly seeps out, naturally forming a chakra protective shield for this huge amount of puppet. Tony landed on the ground and came to the ninjas with ugly expressions. It's going to be difficult now. If we can't break through the defense, this big guy will be able to kill us here. With experience in dealing with the Iron Overlord, Tony felt that the opponent would not be able to catch people with high agility like them. But the opponent's huge and countless energy storage made Tony feel a bit confused for a while. After all, he couldn't use up the opponent. Beizu's crazy voice came from the Chakra Iron Overlord in front of him, come on. Don't we all have our own talents? I'll let you see my talents. If you don't want to cooperate with me, then go to hell. Come on, let me enjoy this world by myself. Ha 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 ha. Tony frowned. What a crazy Grandpa Pinocchio. Doesn't he want to know anything about the world? Just relying on this big toy, he thinks he can conquer the world. Namikaze Minato said in a deep voice, it doesn't matter whether he knows your world or not, but for us now, if we don't deal with the puppet in front of us, we won't even think about solving this matter. Tony definitely understands this truth, but he has tried it before. Facing the protection of dragon vein chakra, his shock beam cannot break through at all. While the two were talking, the Chakra Iron Overlord had already charged towards them brazenly. The punch carried unparalleled energy and hit everyone's heads hard. Faced with this ferocious attack, Tony and the others immediately ran away. When Tony dodged, he fired a shock beam with his backhand, but the result was still ineffective. When the energy hit the purple protective shield, it was swallowed up instantly like a mud cow entering the sea, without causing any ripples. I didn't expect that a weapons expert like me would stumble in this area. Annoyed, Tony had no choice but to stick to him and fight in close combat. Compared with the Mark III, the performance of the Mark IV on his body was more outstanding, and the ability of close combat was also stronger. However, when Tony punched through the purple protective shield and punched a hole in Iron Overlord chakra, with the help of endless dragon vein chakra, Iron Overlord recovered in an instant. Back to ability. While cursing, Tony once again dodged the Chakra Iron Overlord attack. Unlike Obadiah's Iron Overlord, the puppet controlled by Baidu is even more flexible. If Tony hadn't upgraded JARVIS so that it could better handle the details of the battle, Tony would have been slapped at the moment. On the ground. Moreover, unlike a simple attack on Tony, because Tony was not a big threat to the Chakra Iron Overlord, Bezu did not concentrate on dealing with him, but concentrated on dealing with those ninjas, especially Namikaze Minato. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. As a ninja who has experienced the Third Ninja War, he naturally knows how terrifying Namikaze Minato is. After all, the other party succeeded in becoming the Hokage as a civilian due to his illustrious military exploits. Therefore, the person he is mainly targeting is Namikaze Minato. Being ignored by the enemy in this way, although Tony's pressure was reduced a lot, he really couldn't agree with it in his heart. As a proud person, especially after being recognized by the Zudian Scientists Forum, he was even more proud deep in his heart, so he had an unimaginable sense of responsibility. But now it was just the first enemy from another world he encountered, and his performance disappointed him deeply. Pride, dignity and responsibility made him almost angry. And when he looked at the others, every one of these ninjas in front of him performed much better than him. Let's not talk about Namikaze Minato. As the person who was mainly targeted, even so, his performance was dazzling enough. A special kunai brought too much damage to the Chakra Iron Overlord. If it weren't for the Dragon Vein Chakra repair, the Chakra Iron Overlord wouldn't be able to survive a single round in the hands of Namikaze Minato. As for Namikaze Minato's companions, one grew in size and wrestled with the Iron Overlord, blocking the opponent's progress, while the other used insects to constantly eat the Dragon Vein Chakra, consuming the Iron Overlord vitality. Even the white-haired kid had a short knife that was extremely sharp in his hand. The lightning flashed and a deep scar appeared on Iron Overlord body. The three Narutos also performed brilliantly. Relying on abundant chakra, Naruto continued to use duplication, and all the Rasengans were blasted towards the Iron Overlord with a thunderous sound. Sakura, on the other hand, used her delicate fists to smash the Iron Overlord back steadily. Occasionally, her punches would miss, leaving huge amounts of potholes on the ground, which made Tony break into a cold sweat. Yamato was able to suppress Iron Overlord chakra with his wood release. Although Tony didn't understand the reason, his contribution in dealing with Iron Overlord should not be underestimated. And what about yourself? Well, after his steel battle suit's maximum output ability Shock Beam failed to work, close combat is not as powerful as these ninjas. It's a bit too much to say it's tickling, but it does make people feel dispensable. It seems that I have to do what I can. Tony immediately flew up. Since Bezu didn't take him seriously, he could stop wasting time here and solve the trouble from the source. Jarvis reminded. Sir, according to calculations, Bezu's strength is impossible for you to defeat. The bluntness of the smart assistant made Tony's expression even uglier. I understand. So, I don't want to defeat Bezu on my own. According to the information given by Ju Calamity Wind, Bezu controls and transmits Dragon Vein Check through these channels, carrots. Without the help of Queen Lulin, it is simply impossible to defeat the Iron Overlord with the blessing of Dragon Vein Chakra. In this case, then I should complete Queen Lulin's mission now. With that said, Tony turned around and nodded to Minato Namikaze, who was looking at him. A look of understanding flashed in the other person's eyes, and then he nodded to show that he understood. Then, Tony turned around and flew deep underground along the pipe above his head. All the way down, until several pipes above his head merged into one pipe several times thicker, a huge amount of pothole appeared in front of him. And the thick pipe spread from the pit to the ground. Tony glanced down from the top of the pit. It was pitch black inside and there was no end in sight. Turning on the telescope function, Tony finally saw some purple energy beating. Jarvis. Sir, according to detection, the depth is 1 kilometer. Tony nodded. Then let's start working now. As he spoke, Tony stretched out his fist, and a cutting beam immediately shot out from his wrist, cutting the thick pipe in front of him. When a hole was cut in the pipe, dragon chakra spurted out from the hole constantly. Tony immediately reached out and punched the pipe hard. The pipe broke in half instantly. The dragon vein chakra gushes out from the fracture and then falls deep into the ground along the pit. Everyone who was fighting the Chakra Iron Overlord felt a sudden shock from the Iron Overlord movements, and Namikaze Minato immediately shouted, "Naruto!" Afterwards, the two of them each took out a Rasengan and struck it towards the Iron Overlord, who stopped moving under the resonance. The resonating Rasengan completely penetrated the Chakra Iron King with a power far greater than all previous attacks. After Tony cut off the Dragon Vein Chakra supply pipeline, Bezu could no longer control the Chakra Iron Overlord, and because Tony cut off the pipeline at a very insidious location, he could not detonate the entire underground space regardless. Therefore, the originally invincible Chakra Iron Overlord was instantly disintegrated and fell to pieces on the ground amid an explosion, unable to stand up. However, in the entire underground space, because of Tony's plan, all the puppets were instantly affected by the remaining Dragon Vein Chakra. After no one controlled them, the puppets began to run rampant, constantly releasing attacks, causing everyone present to panic. At this moment, Agent Chin suddenly flashed from behind to the front of everyone. "You go and seal the Dragon Vein Chakra, leave this place to me." Uncle with a square face. Naruto looked at Agent Chin in surprise, obviously worried. In response, Agent Chin held his sword and pointed forward at the wave of puppets rushing towards them, and said calmly, "Go, these little things can't do anything to me." Namikaze Minato knew what kind of strength the humble man in front of him had. After all, they had fought against each other before. "I understand, I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Chin." After that, he turned around and greeted the others, "Let's go quickly. The earlier we seal the Dragon Vein Chakra, the sooner these puppets will be able to stop." Everyone left one by one with solemn expressions. Before Naruto left, he said to Agent Chin's back, "Uncle with a square face, you have to hold on." In response to Naruto's words, Agent Chin just gave a thumbs up, and then each person was drowned by the wave of puppets with one sword. In Naruto's last sight, sharp sword energy spurted out from the waves, and each puppet was shot into the air, and then fell apart and completely disintegrated. After these ninjas left, Agent Chin's expression became more and more indifferent. Although he was surrounded by puppets, there was a transparent protective shield wrapping him inside that could not be seen by outsiders. Although the puppets were exuding Dragon Pulse Check, however, it was unable to break through Agent Chin's protection. Instead, it was shot into the air with one sword after another, and then decomposed. They left. Agent Chin glanced at the place where everyone disappeared, and after realizing that they were indeed heading deep underground, he laughed loudly. "There are no outsiders, so there is no need to hide anymore. Hurry up, let's get rid of these troubles." Immediately, Agent Chin raised his hand to gather energy, and then lifted it up suddenly. Ha! The first form of Bodhisattva seal. In an instant, several beautiful rays of light shuttled back and forth in this underground space, and all the puppets blocking it were pierced and then exploded. In just the blink of an eye, the countless waves of puppets stopped, and the ground was covered with puppet fragments. The Dragon Vein Chakra was also torn into pieces and disappeared between heaven and earth in the beautiful light. The light flashed in his hand and the long sword disappeared instantly. Qin Jiaxian looked at the debris around him with satisfaction. "Not bad. This world is really tolerant. It didn't suppress my strength at all. I couldn't let go in the past. Hands, it's really satisfying to have this opportunity this time." Just after stretching, Qin Jiaxian suddenly noticed something. He stretched out his hand and a beautiful long knife appeared in his hand. "Who? Sneaky, come out." An aura that was different from that of the strong man before him instantly rolled up the surrounding debris. When Qin Jiaxian felt the sudden threat, a space door with sparks flying suddenly appeared in the air in front of him. On the other side of the door, a monk wearing a yellow hood slowly walked out. "I am Kamar Taj, Sorcerer Supreme. Your Excellency has been in this world for so long. As the host, I always come to say hello. Also, please tell me about your origins and introduce yourself." Agent Chin's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on his face. "It turns out that he is the master of this place. It's easy to talk about. It's been a while since I came to this world. It's my fault that I didn't come to visit you. However, your master is very good at hiding it." "Yeah, I never knew, but now." Agent Chin at the moment was no longer focusing on this mission. After all, according to the plan, with the help of the ninjas, sealing the Dragon Vein Chakra would not be a problem. What worries him now is that the monk in front of him who calls himself Sorcerer Supreme, looks thin and weak, but Agent Chin's powerful perception can feel the surging dark power in the other person's body, and he feels threatened by the other person. Terrified. Although he considers himself to be quite powerful, especially after living in this world for a period of time, he is even more confident in his own strength. However, facing the monk in front of him, he had no confidence. Therefore, he can no longer act recklessly at this time, and he has never been a reckless person. There was something unexpected happening on Agent Chin's side, but Tony and the ninjas didn't know it. At the moment, they just rushed towards the deepest part of the underground in a hurry, where they had their ultimate goal, Bezu. Walking all the way down the conveyor pipe, everyone soon arrived at the deepest part of Bezu base. Perhaps because of their confidence in the arrangements above, they never encountered any ambush along the way. After walking through a narrow passage, everyone suddenly saw a soft purple light emitting in front of them. Walking out of the passage quickly, it suddenly became enlightened. What appeared in front of everyone was a small underground lake. The entire lake shone with a soft purple light. This was the effect of the dragon vein chakra flowing into this underground lake. But Bezu, whom everyone was thinking about, appeared on the other side of the lake at the moment, facing them across the lake. Hibazu. Naruto stepped on the lake water and ran towards the other side. Hurry and let go of Sarah. It turned out that Bezu had kidnapped Lulin Queen Sarah at the moment and was looking at them angrily. Sarah also saw Naruto and others and shouted at Naruto. Hey, you Konoha ninjas are all fools. Why should you let go of such a good opportunity? Why do you have to go against me? Naruto couldn't listen to Bezu's annoyance at all. You are a bad guy who has done bad things, why do you still want us to go with you? Cursing angrily, Naruto jumped towards the other side. But when he passed the other side of the lake, he seemed to have passed through a curtain of water, and there were some ripples around him. But Naruto didn't notice this. He just wanted to defeat Bezu and rescue Lulin Queen Sarah. Naruto, be careful, there is a trap here. As soon as Naruto jumped to the other side, Sarah hurriedly shouted about danger. Naruto himself obviously felt something was wrong under his feet. He only heard a crisp, click, sound, and huge amounts of explosions immediately occurred around him, and huge amounts of fire appeared instantly to drown him. Naruto. Everyone was shocked, and then they stopped studying what was going on with the ripples that had just appeared around Naruto. Everyone, including Tony, rushed towards the other side without hesitation. Like Naruto, when the ninjas were approaching the other side, ripples suddenly appeared around them. Then they reached the other side and participated in the battle with Bezu. But Tony was completely different. He seemed to have passed through a projection and came to the other side of the lake. But what shocked him was that there was no Bezu and others on the other side of the lake, but a wall with nothing. He turned around and saw that the lake he saw seemed to be separated by transparent glass, which could see everything at the bottom of the lake. And above the separated position, the battle taking place on the shore appeared in the sky like a projection. This is how the same thing. Tony didn't understand this situation at all, and Jarvis instead analyzed it. Sir, this seems to be a phenomenon of space folding. Tony flew up and came to the sky above the lake. He shuttled back and forth several times in this strange phenomenon and found that he really couldn't pass like a ninja. If he hadn't fought side by side with the opponent before, I'm afraid he would have thought who put this projection screen. Is space folded? Regarding Jarvis's analysis, Tony had a different idea. Jarvis, scan the surroundings for anything strange. With a command, a green laser was projected from both sides of the visor and scanned the entire underground space from top to bottom. Through the information obtained from the scan, Jarvis quickly built a three-dimensional model for Tony and found the strange wooden carvings where the lake was disconnected. This is it. Although it was only a three-dimensional model, Tony was still keenly aware of the strangeness of this wood carving. Just when he was about to go deep into the bottom of the lake to pick up the wooden sculpture, the battle between the ninjas was over. Although Bezu was a puppet master with good ability, his own fighting strength was too poor. Under the siege of the ninjas, although he was dying before he wanted to detonate the dragon vein chakra, but was solved by Namikaze Minato with his profound sealing technique. The use of the sealing technique seemed to trigger some mechanism, and the entire underground space suddenly began to shake. Tony was also startled by this sudden change and quickly stopped his movements. On the other side of the lake, Minato Namikaze looked at Tony from afar. Mr. Tony, the dragon vein is starting to become unstable. I need to seal the dragon vein chakra immediately, and our two worlds will be separated. Tony was shocked. You can even do this kind of thing? Namikaze Minato shook his head. Mobizu relies on the special properties of the dragon vein chakra to realize the communication between the two worlds. Once the dragon vein chakra is sealed, there will be no energy support, and the connecting channel will naturally cease to exist. Tony has a huge headache. He hasn't studied the situation clearly yet. The connection channel is about to be closed. Such a good opportunity has been lost. However, without giving Tony a chance to be upset, as the underground space shook more and more violently, the entire lake filled with dragon vein chakra began to boil, and it was likely to explode in the next moment. Therefore, without too much hesitation, just notifying everyone, Namikaze Minato opened his hands, chakra ban. In the air, black runes unfolded instantly, and then covered the entire projection range, and the speed of expansion continued unabated, and finally enveloped the entire lake at Tony's feet. Seal up. The seal in his hand changed, and the black runes shrank instantly. What surprised Tony was that the lake was obviously full of water, and the runes were like a net full of loopholes, but the water in the lake did not escape from the loopholes. The outflow was squeezed together instead. As the runes squeezed harder and harder, the water in the entire lake, including the dragon vein chakra, was compressed into huge amounts of purple water balls. Under the control of Namikaze Minato, this huge amount of purple water balls entered their own world through projection. After doing all this, the projection becomes thinner and thinner, and the entire projection screen becomes more and more transparent. Uncle Puppet, thank you for your help this time. Goodbye. Naruto smiled and waved goodbye to Tony, and the other ninjas also said goodbye to Tony with smiles. Tony opened his visor, a smile appeared on his lips, and waved goodbye as well. When the projection completely disappeared and the entire underground space fell into darkness, the smile on Tony's face faded. Although he didn't get along with these ninjas for a short time, they did make Tony feel a bit like friends. Especially Naruto, who had a cheerful and carefree personality, which allowed Tony to put down a lot of psychological burden. Now, they have completed their mission and returned to their own world, but they don't know when the two worlds will be connected next time. And even if they can be connected again, who knows whether it will still be this world. After all, the parallel world has been confirmed by the wind of disaster. Feeling empty in his heart, Tony shook his head and threw this emotion that did not belong to him out of his mind. He controlled the steel battle suit to fall to the calm ground and picked up the strange wooden sculpture. After looking at it for a while, this wooden sculpture looked extremely ordinary. It was just a simple human figure. The carving was extremely rough, as if it was the work of a beginner. Something strange. Although he could feel that the wooden sculpture in his hand was the key to connecting the two worlds, Tony was still confused about it. According to Namikaze Minato, if you want to open up the two worlds, you need the special energy of Dragon Vein Chakra. Dragon Vein Chakra is a special chakra that contains the attributes of time and space, based on the information given by the Wind of Disaster. Energy with attributes of time and space. Tony felt like his head was about to explode. The more he learned, the more questions he had in his mind, and at the same time, the inexplicable anxiety became more serious. Just when he was deep in thought, Agent Chin's voice sounded in his ear, "Hey. What are you thinking about? Now that the matter is resolved, let's get out of here quickly." Awakened by Agent Chin's voice, Tony's heart skipped a beat. "I'm talking about Agent Steve Joker, why do you appear and disappear every time?" Agent Chin grinned. "Aha, I was laughed at. You were obviously too absorbed in your own thoughts and didn't notice my arrival." He used the flashlight in his hand to shine on Tony's face. The opened visor had not been closed yet. Stimulated by the strong light, he immediately closed the visor. "Okay, now that the matter is settled, I have to go back and be myself. It's about right." Tony thought of something and turned to look at Agent Chin. There should be some Dragon Vein Chakra left, right? This energy must not be leaked out, otherwise. However, before he finished speaking, Agent Chin spread his hands and said, "You don't need to worry about this." After disappearing from the passage of this world, the chakra disappeared with it, leaving no residue. Tony was surprised. How could this be the result? Agent Chin shrugged. "How do I know? This kind of thing is not for you scientists to study. Why ask me? Okay, let's go. There will be more people here later, especially the braised egg head. If he is allowed to, if he sees you, he will definitely try his best to drag you into S.H.I.E.L.D. for exploitation." Tony had already been full of curiosity about Director Lu Dan, whom Agent Chin had been talking about. Really? Then I would like to meet him. Agent Chin was helpless. I think you'd better put away this curiosity. After all, he has been paying attention to you for more than a day or two. He ordered you to get your father's relics. I guess you can see this too. Behavior wants what it wants. Tony frowned. Get my favor and make me owe him a favor. Agent Chin, isn't it obvious? Although the moves are rough, they are easy to use, aren't they? Tony nodded with an ugly face. It's really useful, but it also makes people feel very uncomfortable. Agent Chin, this is not what he cares about. As the king of agents, as long as you have contact with him, you can be his tool. As for your feelings, he doesn't care unless it affects his plan. Tony sneered. King of agents. What a big arrogance. Agent Chin asked curiously. Then what should you do if you accept his love this time? I think Lu Dantu is planning a big plan, and you are definitely an indispensable part of it. Tony snorted coldly. Accept his love? I don't. Agent Chin was greatly surprised. He pointed at the arc reactor on Tony's chest. But you? Tony puffed up his chest confidently. Of course I have my own way, I don't need his help or charity. After receiving this answer, Agent Chin raised his thumb and said, well, I look forward to seeing the day when Braised Dantu will be defeated. He always has a pretentious expression of winning, and I have been unhappy with him for a long time. You can attack. While talking and laughing, the two walked out of the depths of the underground and returned to the surface. Because he had to deal with follow-up matters, Agent Chin watched Tony fly away, glanced meaningfully at an inconspicuous corner, then turned back to Beizu Base and arranged for S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent to clean the scene. The corner that Agent Chin glanced at quietly shone with a little fire, and then returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. Tony, who had been busy all day at the beach villa, had just taken off his scarred steel battle suit when he was caught red-handed by Pepper. Boss, I think we need to talk. Stanny has been sent to prison, and the entire Stark industry is still waiting for you. Pepper walked into the garage with a tablet in his hand and looked at the lying place in shock. On the messy ground, Tony, who was sweating profusely, covered his mouth in surprise. Oh. My God, what have you done? What is this? I didn't expect it was really you. Tony, what are you doing again? What did you do behind my back? After Tony was kidnapped and returned, due to Obadiah's deception, the relationship between him and Pepper, who stayed in the house all day, also improved by leaps and bounds. Therefore, at the moment, Pepper knew about Tony's return through JARVIS and was able to watch to each other's secret at the moment. Seeing Pepper appear, Tony immediately stood up in a panic. Hey. Pepper, let's go to the living room and talk. By the way, what did you say? Company. Yes, company. Let's deal with the company's affairs first. You don't I know, Obi left us a very big mess. By the way, have you taken back Obi's shares? He hurriedly pushed Pepper out of the garage, and at the same time waved to JARVIS to quickly send the steel battle suit back to the laboratory, and diverted Pepper's attention so that she would no longer ask about this matter. Coming to the living room, Tony poured a glass of champagne for each of them. Okay, I'm free now, so I'll handle the company's affairs as soon as possible. Pepper stared at Tony. Boss, I think before that, you need to explain what is going on with that thing in the garage, right? Tony's eyes wandered. The most important thing now is the company, nothing else is important. However, little Pepper clicked on the tablet in his hand a few times, called up a video, then put it on the table and showed it to Tony. Your big toy has caused a lot of noise on the internet. As your assistant, I guess I need to know what's going on, since everything you say and do affects Stark Industries stock. Tony looked at the video played in front of him. It was the scene of him fighting Obadiah yesterday, and of himself trying to persuade reporters to stay away. In the entire video, after the collision between himself and Obadiah, there was a huge amount of sound. The entire video rolled countless times and then went black. It was obvious that the blow destroyed the video equipment, and the subsequent events were not recorded. Calm down. In this regard, Tony said nonchalantly, I didn't admit that it was me. Can you tell that it was me fighting just by the sound of my voice? Little Pepper was helpless, but you didn't reject your identity, right? Moreover, with this video as a record, boss, who do you think people will believe? All day today, I have been answering calls from the military. They can't wait. I want to know about the new weapons you have developed, and I have even placed orders worth billions. Tony's face turned ugly. Stark Industries has shut down the weapons department and no longer sells any weapons. Besides, that's not a weapon. In this regard, Pepper did not argue anything, but said to Tony, however, because of your good performance in this video, you have now become a hero in the eyes of many people, and I also gave you an interesting name, Iron Man. When Tony heard this, he immediately became excited. Iron Man. These guys really don't have much taste, and they can even use such a scumbag name. Moreover, what they said is wrong. My battlesuit is obviously they are all made of titanium alloy. If you really want to say that he is also a titanium alloy man, well, Iron Man sounds better. Pepper stared at Tony closely. You don't really want to admit this identity and then put yourself in danger, do you? Tony's eyes wandered. How is that possible? I'm not that kind of person. On Earth, Tony, who had just experienced an otherworld travel event, was struggling to deal with the aftermath. In the universe, someone has discovered that something is wrong on the Earth. Floating on the throne in the universe, Thanos projected his sight onto the Earth. The Ancient One in Kamar Taj instantly sensed it, and then looked up at the sight projected by Thanos. Necromancer, what happened on Earth has endangered the universe. Thanos's eyes shone with wisdom. The Ancient One looked at him coldly. Titan, don't judge this matter for yourself. If the universe is really endangered, the Life Tribunal will issue an order. Thanos was not angry because of the Ancient One's attitude. The two had been dealing with each other for thousands of years and were very familiar with each other. Necromancer, sometimes, the living tribunal is not omniscient. Regarding Thanos's rebuttal, the Ancient One's attitude was still very cold. Titan, you just want to find an excuse to invade the Earth. Do you think I will let you succeed? Thanos was not disappointed that he did not achieve the results he wanted. After all, it had always been the case for thousands of years. However, unexpected things that happened on the Earth still allowed Thanos to find a glimmer of opportunity. Necromancer, let's wait and see. You have protected the Earth for thousands of years, you cannot protect it forever. With that said, Thanos disconnected. Unlike Thanos in other parallel worlds, as Thanos in the absolute timeline, although he also wants to collect infinite gems, his ideals are more ambitious and his power is more powerful. Asgard, Odin, who is sitting on the throne, clearly sees the exchange between Thanos and the Ancient One. He has reached the end of his life, but his child is still ineffective. How can he leave with peace of mind? Because of Thor's recklessness and aggressiveness, Odin and the Ancient One reached an agreement. Under the threat of the cosmic titan Thanos, the Earth and Asgard united to defend each other, and the Ancient One wanted Thor to experience and grow on the Earth until he became a qualified king will continue the friendly relationship with the Earth. Although what happens on Earth is not big, its impact is not small. Because the Earth is so important in the multi-universe, almost all events that affect the entire universe start from the Earth, and on such a small planet as the Earth, beings who can reach the top of the universe can always be born. And for some unknown reason, the reality dimension where the Earth is located has been reincarnated again and again. This incredible thing has attracted the attention of Mephista from all dimensions. Therefore, they are even more active in invading the Earth. As for the strong people living in the real dimension, their original existence is very special, so they can quickly reach the height of Mephista in the dimension to fight against them. Just like the Earth's Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, no matter which dimension the Ancient One magician is, he always appears as the Sorcerer Supreme. The power he controls is also very transcendent, and he also controls the cosmic treasure such as the Time Gem. Time Gem is like being bound to it. As long as the Ancient One does not fall and does not give up the position of Sorcerer Supreme, then the Earth will always be the safest and will not be invaded by the cosmic titan or the dimensional Mephista. But in every reincarnation, the Ancient One magician would feel tired from the long struggle against the darkness, so after hurriedly handing over the Sorcerer Supreme to his apprentice, he quickly ended up returning to the Court of Life. The specialness of the Earth has attracted the attention of countless beings, even the newly born dimension Mephista is no exception. In the realm of nothingness, Kamizawu waved his hand to solidify the small ninja continent he created, and then waved his hand to create another continent. The two continents are like figures in his hands, but they are extremely real. Obviously, the changes that happened on the Earth were caused by his hands. From the moment Kamiji Mu took action to affect the real dimension, he just did a few things and then let the story develop immediately. After all, what he wanted was not to control the direction of the story, but to break the established direction of the story. He affected reality for the first time. In addition to throwing an artifact that could represent the void dimension as a cover, more importantly, he used it to mark the real world. Because of his peculiar attributes of the void dimension, Shenzhou is able to perform some operations on a small scale without attracting the attention of others. The birth of Mephista, his own nothingness, and the placement of an artifact into the real dimension. This behavior affected the real dimension and caused some deviations in the established story, which is commonly known as affecting destiny. There is originally no gain in leveraging reality, but if you change the reality of a predetermined destiny, the gain will be great. Just like one particle hitting another particle, although it is just a particle collision, the energy actually released is amazing. Destiny that affects reality will naturally release a certain kind of power, but almost no one can detect this kind of power. It is only because of God's own special origin and the malleability of the void dimension that he can seize this kind of power. To use a more fashionable name in American comics, this power is anti-fate. Seizing the counter-destiny, Shenzhou located the location of the Earth, created a character that existed in his own memory, projected it to the Earth, and gave it the corresponding memory and ability. If you interfere again, let it act independently. The forum of scientists from all over the world that Tony Stark obtained later was also placed on Tony by God. In order to prevent Tony from seeing any flaws, he also specially created a character simulator similar to a game. Input many of the existences you know into it, and create a simulated life with Tony. Definitely, this simulator is not just for playing games. In the future, Shenzhou will naturally create the existences in it into reality. After the impact on S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony on the Earth is deep enough, use the power of anti-fate to open the channel to the real dimension and connect the corner of the ninja world you created with it. The created ninja was then thrown to the Earth, leaving behind a wooden sculpture with a special mark. Shenzhou does not think that he is a person who can do anything, and he feels that knowing everything well would be too boring for a long life. Therefore, he just threw out a few people with set memories and experiences and gave the beginning of a script. How the subsequent story should unfold is their own choice and has nothing to do with God. It is for this reason that Shenzhou originally has little to do with these existences. In addition, the special nature of the void field prevents everyone from noticing that these things happening on the Earth are related to his nascent dimension Mephista. As for the second continent being created, it is naturally related to the story that follows. In a slum in Brazil, Dr. Bruce Banner had just finished learning fighting techniques and methods of controlling emotions from a martial arts master. When he was buying some daily necessities in the store, he saw news about Iron Man's fight against terrorists being played on the TV in the store. When the store owner saw Dr. Banner watching TV, he smiled and said, "Who would have thought that half a month ago, he was a kidnapped playboy, and in the blink of an eye he would become a world-famous superhero?" Dr. Banner smiled back. Yes, Stark has changed too much, but his high profile may bring him a lot of trouble. The store owner had a different opinion. Come on, before he didn't have that iron skin, wouldn't he be high profile? Although he became a superhero, he is actually the boss of Stark Industries, and no one can touch him. If so, those street heroes, they really don't dare to reveal their identities in front of the media. Dr. Banner is a little embarrassed about this. After all, he can understand the feelings of those street heroes. After all, although he is not a superhero, he still has extraordinary power, and because his identity is originally transparent in the military, he is to hide in such a poor and chaotic place. After buying daily necessities, Dr. Banner walked towards his residence in a low-key manner. Having lived here for several months, he already knows the rules here very well. Due to poor surveillance and poverty, there are many gangs here, but it is not too chaotic because it has its own rules. As long as you behave low-key enough, don't stare into other people's eyes, don't judge other people's behavior, and don't take the initiative to cause trouble, then basically nothing bad will happen to you. Although there are always a few idle and panicked who want to bring some excitement into their lives, such people have basically become fertilizer in this environment. Even if there are fish that slip through the net, there is no way around it. In short, although life in such a place is inconvenient, for a wanted person like Dr. Banner, it is definitely a paradise, because there is no need to sleep in the wilderness and no need to worry about daily necessities. As he walked home with his head buried in his chest, Dr. Banner thought of the scene of Iron Man on TV, and unconsciously recalled his own experiences. Because of the emergence of the super soldier Captain America during World War II, the military has always wanted to reproduce the super soldier formula. However, after the creation of Captain America, all related research was due to the murder of Dr. Abraham Erskine, the leader of the Super Soldier Project. The Super Soldier potion created by Dr. Erskine was destroyed by Hydra and stalled for a time. In modern times, Bruce Banner is a world-renowned scientist with 9 doctorates. He is evaluated by many senior scientists as the most intelligent scientist in the contemporary era. His photos even appear on the walls of primary and secondary classrooms along with many scientists who have made significant contributions to the world. Dr. Banner has lived up to expectations. At a young age, he has made a major breakthrough in the field of gamma rays and is almost scheduled to win the Nobel Prize in Physics next year. Under this circumstance, Dr. Banner was commissioned by the military general Thaddeus E. Ross to recreate the super soldier serum from the World War II era, thereby participating in the Army Biochemical Strength Enhancement Project. Dr. Banner was reluctant to accept the commission at first, but General Ross was the father of his girlfriend. In the end, Dr. Banner had no choice but to accept the commission. However, because of this commission, Dr. Banner was in an accident. Due to the influence of gamma-ray radiation, he turned into a monster that was always angry. Because the monster constantly shouted the word Hulk, people called him for Hulk. Transforming into Hulk for the first time, Dr. Banner was in a military base. Facing the guns and shells in the military base, Hulk successfully escaped by himself. This makes General Ross even more greedy for Hulk's power. He wants to obtain the Hulk serum from Banner to recreate it, so that American soldiers have this power that can destroy everything. But Dr. Banner understands what the consequences will be if this kind of power falls into the hands of a militant faction like General Ross. He originally had an impure purpose in helping to copy the super soldier serum, so he concentrated on studying gamma rays. However, he did not expect that he would unintentionally gain the ability to transform into Hulk. Since then, General Ross has been tracking his traces, and Dr. Banner has had no choice but to have several confrontations with the troops controlled by General Ross. The last confrontation was more than a month ago. He went to the city for some reason, thus exposing his traces and getting himself surrounded by General Ross. Afterwards, he transformed into Hulk and fought his way out, but a strange-looking agent appeared out of nowhere. The agent claimed to be from a department with a long and awkward name, and wanted him to join it. But how could Hulk listen at that time, so the two started fighting. What surprised Dr. Banner was that the other party did not fall at a disadvantage when facing Hulk, but the other party did not entangle him, and just had a fight and left. The anticlimactic ending left Dr. Banner confused, but after no one blocked his way, he quickly returned to his hiding place, and has been living quietly until now. Here, he studies or works during the day, and at night he studies how to suppress his own mutations through the internet with a scientist whose ID is Drive Lan. The exposure a month ago was caused by accidentally sending specimens to Dr. Lan. However, recently, Dr. Lan's desire for specimens has become more and more intense. The other party said that he has found a very feasible method, but needs more blood samples for experiments, which makes Dr. Banner very distressed. On the one hand, he hoped that what the other person said was true, but on the other hand, he was worried that something bad would happen to the other person taking his blood sample. Therefore, he has recently been worrying about whether to go back to the United States and communicate with Dr. Lan in person. With a sad look on his face, Dr. Lan walked skillfully through the complicated streets. When he accidentally looked up, he discovered that the usually messy streets were much quieter. He was shocked. After such a long period of escape, Dr. Banner had already developed the ability to resist tracking, so he immediately sensed something was wrong with Joe's atmosphere. Cautiously, he immediately began to analyze his surroundings. When he saw some unfamiliar faces appearing around him, he immediately understood that he had been exposed. But obviously, these strange faces didn't notice his presence by looking around, so tonight. No, must leave tomorrow. Not tonight. The other party is new here, so the monitoring at night will be stricter, and for him, it will be even harder to escape at night. Chapter 41. Quickly formulating a temporary plan for himself, Dr. Banner returned home quietly like a local. Fortunately, he had lived here for a while, so he didn't attract the attention of the strangers looking for him around. Holding a large pile of daily necessities, Dr. Banner calmly opened the door to his room. As soon as the door closed, Dr. Banner immediately put down the things in his hands and began to enter the bedroom to pack his clothes and belongings. At the same time, he made a phone call to prepare for his departure. When Dr. Banner opened the closet door, there was a creature inside that he had never seen before. What? Seeing an extra person standing up in his closet, a civet creature wearing a horned hat and carrying a backpack, Dr. Banner's heart skipped a beat and he backed away quickly. At the same time, he picked up a stool from the side and raised it over his head, as if he was going to smash it. Go down. Wait, I'm not a thing. He can actually talk. Dr. Banner looked at the strange creature in front of him in shock. What kind of monster are you? Are you the result of some biological experiment? When the civet creature heard what Dr. Banner said, it exploded instantly. Who are you calling a monster? Even if you praise Chopper like this, I won't be happy, you fool. Seeing the coy attitude of the civet creature who called himself Chopper, Dr. Banner only felt that there was something wrong with his brain, but at the same time, a civet cat could actually speak and communicate with people. This kind of thing was very weird no matter how you looked at it. However, seeing that the other party was able to communicate normally, Dr. Banner didn't have such a big emergency response. After all, the current moment was a crisis time, so it was understandable that he overreacted. He put down the stool and sat in front of the closet, examining the civet creature in front of him. Seeing such a strange creature, his scientist's curiosity was inevitably activated. Are you a tanuki transformed into a human? Or are you a tanuki transformed into a human? Dr. Banner's words instantly made the shy Chopper angry. Asshole. I'm not a tanuki. I'm a reindeer. Can't you see the antlers on my head? Reindeer. Dr. Banner was surprised. He looked at Chopper's antlers coming out of the hat. He thought they were just decorations on the hat. However, more questions and doubts followed. How could a reindeer be as big as you? Could it be that the mad scientist who created you instilled a wrong perception in you? Speaking of which, who are you? Which laboratory did they come from? How many modified animals are there like you? Did they escape with you? Dr. Banner's strong curiosity made Dr. Banner ask a lot of questions, and he even pulled Chowballa in front of him, constantly rummaging around to find if there were any marks or traces of experiments on Chopper. Thing. Ha 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 ha, don't touch it, it's too itchy, you fool. Chopper wanted to avoid Dr. Banner's exploration, but he always caught him, and then touched him everywhere, which made Chopper beat him when he was itchy. Zhu-gun laughed so hard that he burst into tears. After careful searching, Dr. Banner unexpectedly found no traces or experimental marks on Chopper. Did they put a tracking chip on your body or something? Dr. Banner held up Chopper, stared at Chopper's head, and reached out to take off his hat. However, Dr. Banner still found nothing. After Dr. Banner's actions, Chopper grabbed his hat and put it back on. Asshole. What do you want to do? Tell you, don't mess with me. I'm a pirate, and everyone's scared pirate. Regarding Chopper's threat, Dr. Banner only thought that the other party was very cute. Even someone like him who was allergic to cuteness could not help but soften his heart a little. Definitely, Dr. Banner still didn't believe Chopper's words. He was a pirate, and a pirate with a bounty on his head. Dr. Banner didn't take it to heart at all. He just regarded the other party's words as an implant implanted in him by the laboratory, memory and cognition. After all, what's so good about being a pirate these days? Patting Chopper's little head, Dr. Banner felt a sense of sympathy when he thought that Chopper was also a product obtained from experiments. Okay, little Chopper, why are you in my closet? Chopper's face turned red. Well, Dr. Banner said, it was really a physical redness. It's hard to imagine how congested the opponent's head would be before his entire face turned red, including his hair. All are inevitable. I don't know what happened. As soon as I opened and closed my eyes, I came to this dirty place. I was about to find something to eat. When I heard something moving outside, I hid. Ah, here, is this your home? Are you not a thief? Dr. Banner smiled helplessly. What are you thinking, little guy? Why do you think I am a thief? Chopper grinned. You didn't introduce yourself, how do I know you are the owner of this place? Shaking his head helplessly, Dr. Banner took Chopper to the living room and handed the food he bought to Chopper. Aren't you hungry? These are for you. Also, you are the one who broke into my home without permission. It should be you. Let's introduce ourselves first. Thank you. Chopper took the bread and devoured it in 2 voracious bites. When he heard Dr. Banner's words, he looked at the food on the table and quietly moved towards it, while he began to introduce his own food, identity. My name is Tony Chopper. I am the ship's doctor of the Straw Hat Pirates. My dream is to create a panacea that can cure all diseases. Dr. Banner frowned and pushed the food in the direction of Chopper. Chopper cheered happily and buried himself in the food. Looking at Chopper, who looked worried, Dr. Banner began to think, what a cautious organization. It even modified the memory of the experimental subjects so that others could not get any useful information at all. Obviously, he did not believe that Chopper's self-introduction was true. Dr. Banner feels that this kind of experiment on transforming animals into humans without authorization needs to be carefully considered. After all, this kind of experiment is too harmful in terms of ethics and to the original human beings. Dr. Banner felt that he had to find out which organization dared to conduct such an experiment. Chopper, where did you live before? I don't know if he was encouraged by Iron Man's appearance, but Dr. Banner's behavior became more and more bold because of Hulk. In response to Dr. Banner's question, Chopper poked his head out of the food. Haha, you want. By the way, what's your name? It's been so long, and I still don't know what your name is. Dr. Banner. You can call me Banner. Chopper nodded. Okay, Banner. Banner, do you want to hear my story about sailing on the sea when you ask this question? Ha 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 ha. Since you asked me so, Banner, Chopper will tell you about the Great Sea. The legendary journey of warrior Usopp. Afterwards, Chopper excitedly recounted the legendary experience of the great sea warrior named Usopp. Whether he went to sea with great ideals, faced extreme weather and climate, or faced unmatched enemies, the legendary warrior Usopp always used his glorious image and perseverance to overcome difficulties one after another, defeating powerful enemies one after another. Finally, he became famous throughout the sea and was respected and praised by everyone on the sea. Listening to Chopper telling these stories with gleaming eyes, Dr. Banner looked strange. Because in his opinion, these stories cannot be true at all. There are too many logical problems, the characters in the stories are too jumpy, and some questions are immediately known to be imaginary and have no authenticity at all. This organization's ability to write stories is so bad. Can't you spend some money to hire a good screenwriter? Seeing that Chopper was speaking more and more enthusiastically, Dr. Banner quickly stopped him. Chopper, stop. I'm asking about where you lived before, not that I want these stories. Do you understand? When Chopper heard that Dr. Banner was unwilling to listen to these stories, he was immediately a little disappointed, but the other person who gave him food must be a good person, so he did not hide it. As I said before, I am the Straw Hat Pirates ship doctor. I definitely live on our pirate ship. Banner continued to ask, so who are the people on the boat? Chopper glanced at Banner strangely. You guys are too ignorant. Our captain is a big pirate with a bounty of 30 million. How could you not have heard of it? Banner followed Chopper's words and explained. I'm just too ignorant, so I asked you. After all, Chopper, you are so kind. Only you can tell me these things. Hearing the compliment, Chopper immediately became embarrassed, with an embarrassed smile on his face. Even if you praise me like this, I won't be happy, you fool. Seeing Chopper looking so cute, Banner laughed, feeling that his recent depression had been reduced a lot. Afterwards, Chopper proudly introduced his captain and crew to Banner, letting Banner know about some other existences. As for whether it was a forged memory, Banner was not sure. The Straw Hat pirate ship has Captain Monkey D. Luffy, codenamed Straw Hat, with a bounty of 30 million, combatant Roronoa Zoro, codenamed Pirate Hunter, navigator Nami, codenamed Little Thief, Cat, the sniper Usopp, who apparently made up the story of the legendary sea warrior Usopp, the cook Sanji, his ship's Dr. Tony Chopper, and the Princess Nefertari Wei Wei, and her Mount Karoo. At the same time, based on Chopper's description, Banner pieced together an ocean world with a complete worldview. This world is covered by the sea, and humans live on islands. A continent that circles the world and a great sea route wrapped by a windless belt divide the world into 4 seas. Their pirate group is going on an adventure on the Grand Line. In order to realize their dreams, they are heading towards the end of the Grand Line. Banner frowned and tried to find loopholes in these few words. He felt ashamed of his inner turmoil. He actually thought that Chopper came from another planet. Chopper, how did you come to my house? Chopper looked impatient. Didn't I say before that as soon as I opened and closed my eyes, I came here, and then I met you? By the way, this should still be in Alabasta, right? Alabasta. Banner's eyes lit up. Is this where you lived before? Chopper said angrily. Asshole. Did you listen to what people said? I'm not from Alabasta. We sailed here, and we only encountered this kind of thing in order to help our partner Princess Vivi. Hearing Chopper's angry shout, Banner was stunned. Is Wei Wei really a princess? Chopper crossed his arms angrily. Asshole. I've said so much, why can't you understand? Vivi is definitely the princess of Alabasta. We also promised Princess Vivi to save her kingdom, so we'll come to Alabasta. At this point, Chopper felt even more unhappy. If we hadn't met those strange guys, we wouldn't have been separated and ended up in such a strange place. Banner frowned. Inexplicably, he felt that he seemed to be in trouble. Regarding what Chopper told him, he felt that it might really exist. In other words, the reindeer man in front of him was really an alien. How do you know this is a strange place? Chopper touched his blue nose. As soon as I came to this place, I smelled a foul smell. It doesn't smell like the sea at all. Banner feels that he must find out what secrets there are. Whether Chopper comes from a secret laboratory or is an alien creature, Banner cannot ignore its free development. He understood the thinking of those in the military very well. If Chopper fell into their hands, he simply couldn't imagine what would happen to this poor little guy. Chopper, who did you meet, and why did you suddenly show up at my house? Although the question was very similar to the previous one, Chopper understood the meaning. The honest Chopper did not hide any thoughts and directly told what happened. We just arrived in Alabasta, and when we were about to split up, we met a group of mysterious guys. These idiots performed some kind of ritual, and then a big hole opened under our feet and sucked us in. Wait until when I came to my senses, I was already here. Banner asked, are you alone? Your friends are not with you. Chopper shook his head. I'm the only one, so when I'm full, I'll have to look for Luffy and the others. Hearing that Chopper was about to go out to find his partner, Banner wanted to stop him at this moment, regardless of whether it was true or not. No, Chopper was startled by Banner's firm words. Banner. Why not? The kind-hearted Chopper was not angry because of Banner's attitude, but he did not understand why the other party refused. In his opinion, they were already considered friends at the moment. As friends, it was impossible for the other party to harm him. Although Chopper's thinking was too simple, at least the result was the same. So Banner had to temporarily accept that what the other party said was true and came from aliens. Chopper, this may sound unbelievable to you, but you are probably no longer in the ocean you are familiar with, but on another planet. Planet. Forgive Chopper's ignorance. If it comes to medical-related knowledge, he can speak clearly and logically. But when it comes to things like planets, it's impossible to find many people who know it in the entire sea. Seeing that Chopper didn't have the concept of a planet, Banner guessed that the planet he was on was still in an ignorant stage, so he changed his explanation. It's the world. You have come to a brand new world. If you appear in front of everyone rashly, it will cause a lot of trouble. Big sensation. So it's like this, isn't it just a different world? There's nothing to be afraid of. As long as I find my partner, then all problems will be solved. As he spoke, Chopper suddenly reacted and shouted in shock. Get up, what? A whole new world. Shish. Banner was frightened by Chopper's sudden yell. He was mainly afraid that people outside would notice the movement in the room and expose himself and Chopper. Don't be so loud. It's not safe outside now. Don't attract them. Pay attention. However, Chopper was not in the mood to listen to Banner's warning. He knelt on his knees, put his hands on the ground, and lowered his head. Why did things become like this? Can I still go back? Can I still find Luffy and the others? Can I still see Dr. Kuleha? Wow 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 wow. As he said that, Chopper fell to the ground and started crying loudly, which gave Banner a headache. He hurriedly knelt down to comfort him, hoping to stop Chopper's crying and attract the attention of others. However, what he didn't know was that General Ross sent people to constantly check the surrounding area in order to find him. A group of soldiers had already approached his residence. When they heard the crying coming from Banner's house, these people thought that Banner was not in this house. After all, as a wanted criminal on the run, Banner has no fixed place to live all day long. How could he bring such a noisy dragster with him? Therefore, during the investigation, Banner was ignored, allowing him to escape being discovered tonight. As for General Ross looking for Banner's landlord to find out where he lives, he has been chased for so long, and Banner's IQ is high enough, how could he use his true identity to find a house, so the landlord doesn't know Banner at all? Because of his existence, General Ross would search everywhere with such vigor. As for why those people Banner found during the day were not killed and searched as now, it must be because they are in Brazil and General Ross's identity is difficult to use and requires official coordination. Banner, who didn't know he had escaped death, spent more than 10 minutes finally coaxing Chopper to stop crying. Banner wiped the sweat from his forehead. He had never been so tired before. This experience made him have some shadows about raising children. Chopper, don't worry, you and your partners were teleported together, so maybe they have also arrived in this world, but you are separated. Chopper was still sobbing and wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. He looked at Banner expectantly. Really? Luffy and the others have really come to this world? Banner wasn't even sure whether people like Luffy were real. How could he be sure that these people came to Earth with Chopper? However, at this time, there is no room for him to worry about what is true or false. The top priority is to calm down Chopper quickly, and take Chopper away from here immediately until tomorrow to a safe place. Definitely, you don't know this. I am a PhD in physics. Since you are going through the same wormhole, there must be only one destination. And if you are on the Earth, then your friends must not be far from you. Although he didn't believe this at all, after all, the so-called not far away was only on the scale of the universe, and whether there really were these people was a big question. But Chopper believed it without any doubt. He immediately burst into laughter and focused on eating again. He looked obviously hungry. Banner had already felt Chopper's innocence. Although he felt it was not good to deceive him like this, he had no other choice. After working hard all day, especially when facing Chopper, Banner felt exhausted at the moment. With an empty stomach, he also joined the dinner party to regain his strength. After eating and drinking enough, the food Banner bought that was enough for him to live for 3 days was consumed. He really couldn't understand how Chopper could hold so much food in his small belly. Chopper, who had eaten and drank enough, began to feel restless again. He wanted to leave the room and go out to find his companions. Banner's hair stood up instantly and his heart was frightened. Couldn't he just stay peacefully for the rest of the night? After all, Chopper finally agreed to take a night's rest and go looking for his partner with Banner early tomorrow morning. Chopper was so moved that he hugged Banner and started crying again, which made Banner have no choice but to comfort him. He really couldn't understand what the little thing in his arms was going through, why he had such a simple personality. His moods fluctuated, and he cried and laughed at every turn, which was a headache. As if tired from crying, Chopper fell asleep in Banner's arms. Helpless, Banner could only help him take off his hat and backpack, put them on the bed, and let him have a good rest. As for myself, at the moment I can pack my luggage quietly and prepare to leave this dangerous place early tomorrow morning. After a busy night, when Banner woke up, it was already broad daylight. Feeling the brightness in the room, Banner sat up suddenly and looked toward the window. He didn't know when Chopper had been standing in front of the window looking at the scenery outside. Banner, this place is indeed different from Alabasta. There are so many people here. It is indeed another world. Banner washed himself, and after sharing the remaining bread in the refrigerator with the two of them, he picked up his luggage. Chopper, as we agreed last night, disguise yourself and let's go find your partner. Quote. Chopper had completely covered himself at the moment, only revealing a pair of eyes and antlers that couldn't be blocked. I'm ready to. Let's go. Both of them were disguised, carrying large and small bags like a father and son who were backpackers. In the eyes of the heavily armed soldiers on the street, they were about to leave and go to the stowaways Banner had booked yesterday. Walking on the road, looking at the soldiers all around, Banner felt his heart pounding, fearing that his identity or Chopper's appearance would be exposed accidentally. But simply, in the eyes of General Ross and others, he has always been alone, so the soldiers who checked the most carefully were the men who were alone, and even women sometimes would not let them go, as long as the other party was good-looking. A backpacker like him with children and a man would not attract the favor of the soldiers at all, so on the way to the stowaways, he passed all the control checks without any danger. Arriving at a remote alley, Tony finally breathed a sigh of relief. He turned to look at the soldiers who were still searching carefully on the street. He immediately led Chopper towards the depths of the alley. Chopper tugged on his face towel. "Banner, are those soldiers here to arrest us?" Banner kept walking. "They are here to arrest me." Chopper's eyes lit up when he heard this. "So Banner, you are also a pirate?" Banner pursed his lips and said in a melancholy tone, "I'm not a pirate, but I'm still wanted, more or less the pirate you mentioned." Chopper wanted to ask something else, but Banner no longer wanted to continue on this issue. "Okay, we're here, remember, don't say anything next, and don't reveal yourself. Otherwise, you will be hunted by many people next." Chopper covered his mouth and nodded wildly to show that he understood. Banner walked to an iron gate deep in the alley and knocked at a specific frequency. Boom, 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 boom. A few minutes later, there was only a click, and a trembling voice came from the door. "Come in, the door is open." Banner frowned. He suddenly became alert and asked tentatively, "John Kirk, have you prepared the passport I ordered before?" As he said that, he tried to push the door open, but the trembling voice came from inside again, "Definitely. Cord, right, you just come in and get it." His pupils shrank, and Banner immediately turned around and left with Chopper without any hesitation. He quickly left the alley and happened to bump into a soldier teasing a beautiful woman. The two sides just looked at each other and stayed where they were. Soon, the soldier calmly showed the pistol on his waist, and Banner immediately pulled Chopper and turned around and left quickly. After arriving in an alley without soldiers, Chopper immediately couldn't help but asked curiously, "Banner, was that your friend just now? Why don't you go in and say hello? Aren't you already at his door?" Banner turned his head and looked outside, and found that General Ross had appeared in his field of vision at some point, and in front of him was the soldier who had just threatened him, replying to General Ross's question. Seeing this situation, Banner immediately withdrew his gaze and pulled Chopper to run out of the city. "They have discovered us and must leave the city immediately." Seeing that the matter was urgent, Chopper didn't make much noise. He just lowered his head and followed Banner as he ran out of the city. When the two saw the searching soldiers again, they found that they had begun to search more closely, and they would not spare those fathers and sons or masked people. Banner understands that there is less and less time left for them. Chopper's short legs made Banner think that he couldn't run fast, so he picked him up and put him on his back, and then ran out of the city. Banner has already figured out the various roads in this slum, and he knows very well where to get to the dense forest outside the city faster. While avoiding the soldiers' searches, he constantly changed roads, avenues and alleys, building a three-dimensional map in his mind, and then sketched out a safe passage. Along this safe passage, Banner played hide-and-seek with the soldiers, and saw that he was getting closer and closer to successfully escaping. However, he did not expect that when passing through a gang's territory, Chopper's disguise was suddenly hooked by a roadside sign, "Arrive." Banner didn't notice it and just ran for his life. He didn't stop until he was suddenly blocked by gangsters when he turned a corner. "What do you want to do?" Banner asked calmly as he looked at the gangsters surrounding him. The gang leader was a bald man. He played with the gun in his hand and walked up to Banner surrounded by his men. "Hey, friend, don't be nervous, I just want to discuss a business with you." Banner didn't want to get into trouble. "What kind of business do you want to discuss?" The bald leader pointed a gun at Chopper, whose disguise had been removed from Banner's back. "I'll give you 3,000, how about you sell this little guy to me? This deal is a good deal, right?" Banner turned around to look, and he felt his head began to hurt again. "Chopper, where is your disguise?" Chopper was lying quietly on Banner's back. After hearing this question, he belatedly discovered that the disguise on his body had disappeared, and immediately shouted in shock, "Huh? Where is the disguise? It's gone." Quote. However, it was better not to speak. As soon as he spoke, the greed in the bald leader's eyes almost overflowed. "Friend, where did you get this little pet? Maybe we can make a long-term deal." As he spoke, he was about to reach out to grab Chopper. However, Banner immediately took 2 steps back and reached out to open the other person's hand. "Don't move your hands or feet. You'd better get out of the way quietly, otherwise you will regret it later." Quote. Regarding Banner's threat, all the gang members present laughed. They really couldn't understand. Facing a group of gang members with weapons, what could Banner do alone? The bald leader felt that his dignity had been insulted when Banner opened his hand. He originally wanted to get more information about creatures like Chopper from Banner in a friendly manner, but now, he only needs to ensure that the other party does not die. "You rejected a friend's kindness." As he said this, he aimed the gun at Banner's leg. Just as he was about to shoot, a voice suddenly came from behind Banner. "Hey! You, what's on your back?" Xuan Sheng looked around and saw a soldier walking slowly towards them with a machine gun. Being pointed at by a soldier with a gun, the bald leader's face instantly became uglier, but the other party was an American soldier, and he had already received the news last night. It was best not to cause trouble in the past 2 days, otherwise no one would be able to help him. But with so many younger brothers watching, how should he maintain his dignity? The bald leader, who was in a dilemma, did not notice that the man he was threatening had other thoughts. Banner suddenly took the gun from the opponent's hand, and then fired 2 shots in the direction of the soldier. He definitely didn't hit anyone. But it also caused the soldiers to immediately hide behind the bunker, fire back, and call for reinforcements. Bang 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 bang. 2-2-2-2-2-2-2. Because he started this fight, Banner immediately dropped his weapon and dived into the gang crowd. "Chopper, hurry up." After giving instructions, Banner scurried around the crowd, not only disrupting the gang members' attempts to hide in the bunker, but also making the entire formation very chaotic. As for the bald leader at the front, it was a pity that under the precise shooting of the soldiers, he had turned into a sieve and fell to the ground. As for the gang members behind him, there were naturally several unlucky ones lying in a pool of blood, wailing. Banner took advantage of the chaos and fled towards the end of the alley. I don't know if it's because once people are unlucky, they can't even drink water. Because of the chaotic scene, Banner's disguise also fell off in the constant collision. Reinforcements from the soldiers have also arrived. Although they are surprised that the local gangs dared to fight with them, things have already happened. They can only deal with the enemies first. The major who came over to take command poked his head out of the bunker and was about to shoot when he suddenly noticed the man behind the gang carrying something strange. It was at this time that the man turned his head to look at the fire scene with lingering fear, and the major immediately felt that he had seen that face somewhere. Boom! A bullet flew by less than 20 centimeters from his face, and the major immediately turned around and hid in the bunker. It was at this moment that the major reacted immediately. "Drive Banner. That's Bruce Banner. It's Hulk." Excited, he immediately called General Ross. "General, we have discovered Dr. Banner." On the other side, General Ross, who was waiting for the news with a dark face, got the news and immediately laughed. "Banner, you can't escape this time." Banner didn't know the truth that he had been exposed. He just continued to run out of the city along the established route. But soon, he heard the sound of a helicopter turning. Looking up, he saw a U.S. military helicopter chasing him. General Ross also leaned out of the helicopter and shouted with a loudspeaker. "Banner, you don't have to run away, I've already discovered you. Let's capture you without mercy. This will be good for you and me." Banner stared at General Ross's face angrily. It was because of the other party's constant interference that he ended up where he is today. And after harming himself like this, he shamelessly wants to catch himself and make himself a test subject to realize his ideal. Rose. Although he was extremely angry, Banner knew that he could not let anger affect him, because he knew what he would become when he was angry. Beep, 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 beep. The heartbeat monitor on his wrist emits a series of alarm sounds. This is the warning line he has set. Once the warning line is broken, he will transform into a monster named Hulk, venting his anger wantonly and destroying the surroundings. Everything that can be destroyed. After taking a few deep breaths, Banner turned around and continued to run forward. He didn't want to get entangled with Rose. He just wanted to solve the problem of his mutation and return to his normal life. Seeing Banner not answering, General Ross's face immediately darkened. Banner, don't you want to solve your own problem? Come to me. I can provide you with all the help. As long as you help me, I can meet all your requirements. However, Banner has heard too much about General Ross's recruitment. What he needs is not much at all. He can easily obtain the scientific research environment by himself, so he only wants to be with his ex-girlfriend, who is Ross, the general's daughter. However, it is a pity that I am not the son-in-law candidate in General Ross's mind, so the other party always dislikes me. General Ross cannot meet the conditions he needs. Not to mention, after experiencing his own mutation, the whole thing has become extremely complicated. It simply cannot be solved in 1 or 2 sentences, nor can it be overcome so easily. Seeing Banner on the ground just running away, General Ross was even more angry. He was in a high position and kindly invited a wanted criminal, but he didn't give him face. Although the current situation of the other party was caused by him, General Ross did not feel any regret at all. He just felt that the other party was not a convenient tool, and the fact that he could not meet his requirements made him extremely angry. Looking coldly at the fleeing Banner below, General Ross gave the order, break his legs. Let's see how he can run. The order was given, and the sniper on the roof not far away immediately aimed at the running Banner, and then aimed at Banner's legs. With a jolt, Banner felt a tingling sensation spread from his legs to his whole body, his hair stood on end, and an extremely dangerous feeling filled his soul. Turning his head to look towards the roof, under the sunlight, a reflection hit his eyes directly. Sniper. Banner was scared to death, and the anger in his heart instantly broke through the warning point. Dee dee. As the watch beeped faster and faster, the anger in Banner's heart was finally released. The clothes were torn, the muscles all over the body bulged, the skin turned green, and the whole body suddenly swelled. Chopper was thrown off Banner's back by the sudden change, and sat on the ground watching Banner transform in surprise. Rue, Hulk. Both fists hit the ground hard, making 2 big craters in the ground. Hulk raised his neck, and veins popped out like steel bars. Banner's sudden transformation surprised the sniper on the roof, and he immediately aimed at Hulk's leg and pulled the trigger. Boom! The gunfire rang out, and Hulk's leg suddenly staggered, and a bloody hole appeared in his leg that was as deep as the bone. But the next moment, the already shape-shifted bullet was squeezed out by Hulk's muscles, and the wound was restored to its original state, without even a drop of blood flowing. Roar! After being hit by a sniper rifle, Hulk felt the pain and roared, picked up a box from the side and threw it towards the sniper's position. Boom! As the house collapsed, the sniper who couldn't escape instantly went offline. Seeing Hulk's ferocious move, General Ross on the helicopter shook his fist angrily. He hasn't transformed for a long time. Roar! Hulk opened his mouth and roared at General Ross in the air. He was big and round, and his whole body was exerting force. His muscles were like copper poured into iron. His ferocious aura was terrifying. He was venting his anger towards General Ross, his eyes were bloodshot, and he looked like he would take action if he disagreed. This frightened General Ross and quickly urged the driver to stay away. 2222222. While they were venting their anger, the soldiers fired at Hulk with their weapons. The extremely lethal bullets rained down on Hulk, but they did not break through Hulk's skin, but only made him feel pain. After being interrupted from roaring, Hulk raised his hands to protect his face and let the bullets hit him. Roar! Hulk, who was getting more and more angry, no longer tolerated these attacks, stomped his feet against the constant bullets, lifted his whole body up in an instant, and then slammed into the middle of the soldiers. Boom! A huge amount of pit appeared on the ground, and the strong impact caused the surrounding soldiers who were unable to dodge to fly out in all directions, howling, and then fell heavily to the ground. There were also some soldiers who escaped this disaster. Although they were scared, they still shot at Hulk with their weapons. Hulk was so angry that he took a few steps to stand in front of these soldiers. With a punch and a kick, several figures flew out and fell to the ground unable to move. Another punch blew up the wind, and suddenly stopped in front of a soldier's horrified eyes. It turned out that the soldiers around him were injured and dead, but those who were intact were frightened by Hulk's terrifying power and stopped attacking. When there were no attacks around him, Hulk stopped, snorted at the frightened soldier in front of him, and turned away with a look of disdain. Walking to Chopper, at the moment Chopper was looking at Hulk with stars in his eyes. Wow, Banner, you are so powerful, you are also a monster. Hulk, who was originally called a monster by others and considered himself a banner, didn't like this very much, but Chopper obviously recognized his appearance, so Hulk was filled with joy, and he even more recognized Chopper. He pointed at himself. Banner, no. Me, Hulk. Chopper nodded excitedly. Hulk. Hulk, you are so awesome. You are worthy of being a monster. Hulk grinned happily. Hulk. Monster. Chopper. Friend. Chopper put his hands on his hips. Ha 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 ha, definitely, we are friends, because we are both monsters. While the two were happily communicating with each other, General Ross couldn't stand it anymore. He even discovered Chopper, a strange creature that could talk. He thought it was some kind of pet created by Banner. Don't let me be in a daze, hurry up and catch these two weird things. Although a group of soldiers were knocked down by Hulk, General Ross still had other soldiers, and even armed helicopters came to support. Therefore, armies with stronger firepower rushed towards here. The gunships were the fastest and had already pointed their weapons at Hulk, and streaks of fire began to emerge from the muzzles of the guns. The machine gun mounted on the armed helicopter is so powerful that even Hulk can only retreat. And there are more and more enemies. Even if Hulk wants to vent his anger and smash all these annoying things, he can only retreat temporarily. Roar. Finally, he roared threateningly at the army, and then took a deep look at the yelling General Ross. He reached out and held Chopper in his arms. With a strong push of his feet, he jumped 10 meters high. After drawing an arc in the air, he appeared in another neighborhood. Seeing this, General Ross issued an order frantically, "Follow me. We can't let him go. This beast must be captured today." However, facing Hulk who wanted to escape, no matter how luxurious General Ross's equipment was and no matter how many soldiers he had, he could only watch Hulk jump and disappear into the forest. General Ross led the army all the way to a river, and there was no trace left by Hulk. His operation this time ultimately failed. Fake. Shit. General Ross threw down his hat and was furious. He had paid a lot for today, but he didn't expect that except for the loss of troops and generals, he didn't get anything at all. Moreover, what made him feel uneasy was that Hulk's ability was much stronger than before, and his intelligence was no longer that of a mindless creature who only knew how to smash things. Every time Hulk is allowed to escape, the opponent's ability becomes stronger. General Ross doesn't know to what stage Hulk's ability will be strengthened as time passes. And he can no longer see the time when he caught Hulk. In the dense forest 3,000 kilometers north of the former slum, as he became more and more happy with Chopper, the anger in Hulk's heart became less and less. In the end, Hulk turned back into Banner again. As soon as he changed back to himself, Banner took a deep breath and fell to the ground weakly. Chopper was so frightened that he quickly stepped forward to check. After checking, he found that Banner was just a little weak for a while, so he breathed a sigh of relief. "It's okay, Banner, you'll be fine after you take a rest." Banner naturally understands his state at the moment, because after several transformations, he has become more and more resistant to this kind of loss of power. "I didn't expect you to actually have some medical skills." As soon as these words came out, Chopper became angry and slapped Banner with his hands and hooves. "Asshole. You have never believed in my identity as the ship's doctor." Banner could only accept the apology with a wry smile. "I'm sorry, after all, your appearance is too confusing. No one can tell that you are so cute and have medical skills." Banner, who has already figured out Chopper's character, naturally has a way to deal with him. Sure enough, after being praised like this by Banner, Chopper started to squirm again. Hey, hey, hey. I only get happy when you compliment someone on how cute they are." After resting for a while, Banner recovered. However, due to the transformation, only a pair of special underwear was left on his body, and his luggage was also left behind at the place where he fought before. But fortunately, he was prepared and had a set of clothes for himself in Chopper's backpack. After putting on his clothes, Banner looked at the sky. After roughly calculating his location, he took Chopper towards the nearest village. After experiencing this incident, he finally decided to return to New York and see Dr. Land so that he could solve the problem of his mutation faster. New York, Seaside Villa. Tony is browsing the papers that interest him in the Scientists Forum, and wants to further improve his steel battle suit. JARVIS suddenly popped up several videos on the screen in front of him. "Sir, I think you will be interested in these videos." Tony was interrupted from his thoughts. "If it is something boring, I will definitely remove your humor module." Looking at the screen in front of him, Tony's pupils shrank and his eyes widened as several videos popped up. Although the videos were very shaky and made people feel dizzy, whether they were shot at a close range or shot from a long distance, it was clear that the military was chasing and intercepting a big green monster. What is this? Could it be another existence from another world? Tony suddenly felt worried. He had just solved an otherworld invasion incident. Tony didn't want to have something like this happen again after a few days of stability. It will make Tony feel that his world is completely unsafe, and perhaps there are already countless ambitious people from other worlds who are coveting this world. However, this time JARVIS was very reliable. "Sir, according to military information, this incident is not an otherworld invasion." Tony frowned. "Military information? Haven't you checked it before? There is nothing special about it. Although there are some weirdos, they are still within the range of understanding." JARVIS popped up a message for Tony. "Sir, you ignored such a file before." Tony clicked on the file content, which was the Army Biochemical Force Enhancement Project. Bruce Banner. The famous one with 9 doctorate degrees. I remember that he seemed to have caused huge losses due to a gamma-ray experiment, which caused reflection pollution, and then absconded in fear of crime, didn't he? Why did he participate in such a military operation again? Project. JARVIS explained. "Sir, according to the records of S.H.I.E.L.D., Dr. Bruce Banner participated in the Army Biochemical Strength Enhancement Project, and then borrowed military resources to conduct research on gamma rays. He was accidentally exposed to gamma rays. Mutations, as long as they are angry, can turn into a powerful creature called Hulk. In order to cover up this fact and to reproduce the power of Hulk, the military wants Dr. Banner to be wanted around the world." Tony smiled disdainfully. "The military has always been the same, there is nothing new. But what kind of strength enhancement project is this? Let me see. Oh, it turns out that they just want to recreate Captain America. There is really no progress at all. Such an old antique, I don't know what can be replicated. Could it be that he can still influence the pattern of the world?" After understanding the military's plan, Tony put it aside and ignored it. He finally understood why he had no impression of such information at all. Since he became Iron Man, he has become busier and busier. He even handed over the management of the company to Pepper and gave him the position of president. Therefore, he simply did not have that much time to delve into every secret information. This kind of project of replicating Captain America was simply not worth mentioning in his eyes, so he naturally missed the existence of Hulk. Hulk has been quiet for so long, why did he appear again this time? JARVIS called out a new action report. The military discovered Dr. Banner's traces and wanted to arrest him, but it attracted Hulk, and he eventually escaped. Moreover, the military discovered that there was an intelligent humanoid beside Dr. Banner. The civet cat creature is probably the result of Dr. Banner's research. Unlike the videos circulating on the internet, the military's videos and photos are clearer. He looked at the photos on the screen carefully, frowning. He always felt that the civet cat-like thing was very concerning. This little guy doesn't look like a pet. Eyes widening, Tony found this little guy more and more suspicious. After looking at it for a long time, Tony only felt his eyes stinging. I've had enough of the bright light from the screen. JARVIS. Have the materials I ordered not arrived yet? JARVIS. Sir, the material entered the warehouse an hour ago. Upon hearing this, Tony stood up immediately. Okay, let's put this matter aside for now. Let's make a small thing first. With that said, Tony got up and left the laboratory, walking towards the warehouse. When the boss of Hammer Industries, Justin Hammer, was happy about a military weapons order he had just completed, the slim secretary told him that there were still people who wanted to cooperate with Hammer Industries. Ha ha ha, Stark made a fool of himself. It's finally time for me, Hammer Industries, to rise. Boss, the other party did not make an appointment, and they look like. Before the secretary finished speaking, Hammer interrupted the other party directly. Okay, don't worry about these tedious processes. Our company is about to develop its ambitions and we cannot shut out any potential customers. As long as the other party, if I have money, what reason do I have to refuse to cooperate with them? So what if the other party is a terrorist? Isn't Steny also making money from them secretly? Quote. Hammer, who was feeling proud, didn't pay too much attention to the vigilance in his secretary's words, but decided to open the door to let his company get more benefits. He had been suppressed by Tony since he was a child. At the moment, he wanted to let Hammer Industries surpass Stark Industries immediately, and then show off his power in front of the opponent and watch the opponent regret after failing. Seeing what the secretary wanted to say, Hammer waved his hand. Okay, don't say anything more. We have just made some progress, so we can't be arrogant and treat every guest friendly. Go ahead and treat the guests, please come over. As he said that, he waved his hand proudly to signal the other party to leave, and the smile on his face became even bigger. Hammer stood up and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the busy traffic outside. He felt that his behavior at the moment was too gentlemanly, too elegant, and definitely completely different from the playboy Tony. After changing positions a few times, Hammer was not satisfied with the shocking feeling he gave to the guests. In the end, he decided that the most impressive sight was his back to the door, holding a glass of whiskey and overlooking the window. After all, his father was. This leaves an impact on the guests. He hurriedly imitated his father's posture. After a while, he felt that his arms were a little sore and numb, and there was a knock on the office door. Ahem. Hammer cleared his throat and deliberately lowered his voice. Come in. The secretary outside the door didn't change his expression. He gestured to the weirdos behind him and left quickly. The leader, with a cigar in his mouth, glanced at the secretary's back thoughtfully, chuckled, and opened the double doors in front of him. He walked into the house with his head lowered and saw Hammer's artificial back. Are you Justin Hammer? It's me. Hammer pretended to turn around, but suddenly paused, his eyes full of confusion and fear. Because there is a blade shining with cold light across his neck. Justin Hammer broke into a cold sweat and looked at the blade lying across his neck in horror. It was a blade transformed from one finger. The owner of this finger is a fierce man over 2 meters tall, with short hair and brown-black skin. There is a terrifying scar on the right side of his face from below the natural line to the cheekbone, and he has a unibrow. Wearing monk-like attire, with the word, Yi, tattooed on his open chest. Hammer didn't know how this man managed to turn his fingers into blade, but he understood the current situation. His life was already in the hands of these people in front of him. At the moment, he suddenly remembered the reminder from his secretary before. If he hadn't insisted on his own way, how could he have ended up in this situation? After swallowing, Hammer could no longer maintain his artificial image at the moment, and pulled out a flattering smile with difficulty. I wonder if you need my help. Do you need money? As the president of Hammer Industries, I am willing to support you with $10 million US. However, none of the people in front of them had any reaction to Hammer's conditions. Instead, they looked at him like a joker. How greedy. Silently commenting in his heart, he had no choice but to raise the standard again. How about $50 million? This is the highest amount of funds I can draw. You also know that for a company as big as ours, the funds that can be freely used are basically not much. Definitely, he is just being miserable at the moment. In his opinion, these idiots in strange clothes are just some fools with little experience. Maybe they are some unknown super criminals with this strange ability. As long as they give a little benefit, it was a good deal for him to let them leave him alone. Moreover, through this, he might be able to get in touch with the other party and ask the other party to help him deal with some difficult things. Thinking like this, Hammer felt that he was too smart to come up with such a good idea in such a short period of time. For a moment, his legs stopped trembling, his heart was no longer afraid, and he actually had the demeanor of a successful entrepreneur. However, the next moment, his fantasy was shattered. Kai, goo ha 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 ha. I heard the mocking voice of the man with the golden hook sitting on the sofa, and then other people around him started laughing too, making Hammer instantly feel excited again. The man with the golden hook sitting on the sofa looks taller than the blade man next to him. He has a slicked back hair, a cigar in his mouth, long transverse scars on his face, an earring in his right ear, and a golden man in his left hand. Hook, wearing an out-of-season fur coat. Behind him stood a woman with a curvy figure and an afro. After the other party laughed, he opened his mouth and his face was full of threats. I like your humor, but I don't want you to be so humorous all the time, do you understand? Hammer was so frightened by the opponent's attitude as a gangster that he broke into a cold sweat. If he really faced the gangster, he wouldn't be so scared. After all, he would definitely call his bodyguards before that. But at this moment, he doesn't have any bodyguards around him, and the opponent's blade is across his neck. His life depends on the opponent's thoughts. No matter how rich he is, he can only pray that the opponent will not really kill him. Definitely, definitely. I wonder if you are. How can I help you? Hammer asked flatteringly. The man with the golden hook acted as if he had just remembered. I forgot to introduce myself. I am the president of the Baroque Working Group, Shaw Crocodile. You can also call me Mr. Zero. If I have a business deal with you, it depends on whether you are willing or not. Regarding this threat, Hammer couldn't have any hesitation. He nodded wildly. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you very much to President Crocodile for taking care of our company, but I don't know what transaction the president wants to make. Crocodile raised his head and looked down at Hammer. We have been in New York for a while and learned that you and Stark Industries are in a competitive relationship, so we can help you kill the Tony Stark you hate. And you just need to give us a small reward. When Hammer heard the other party's words, his eyes lit up, and then quickly dimmed. Although he wanted to agree to the other party immediately, he still maintained a certain sense. I wonder what kind of remuneration I need to pay. Crocodile sneered and said, What do you own at Hammer Industries? Hammer smiled awkwardly. It turned out that the other party really came for the arms. At the same time, he also knew that the other party was not a local gang in New York. No wonder he dared to do such a thing and go directly to other people's companies to threaten the company boss. Local gangs did not have such courage. Country bumpkins. He scolded the other party in his heart, but still maintained a flattering expression on his face. No problem, Hammer Industries weapons are the best equipment in the world. As long as President Crocodile solves the stumbling block of Stark, Hammer Industry will definitely be able to meet the president's needs. How big of an order can a mere gang get? Just treat it as charity. Calculating silently in his mind, he found that the other party came with such a big fanfare, and he seemed to have gained quite a bit. As long as Stark's stumbling block was solved, the military would have no other choice, and it would not have any hope for Stark. And Hammer Industries will take this opportunity to soar into the sky and replace Stark Industries as the most prominent arms dealer in the United States and even the world. And what he paid was just the arms of such a gang. As for after the failure, it is impossible for him to reveal that he hired the murderer, because he was threatened by these people in front of him. Thinking of the possibility of failure, Hammer suddenly felt that this deal was a little unreliable. Well, it's not that I doubt your strength, it's just that Stark has become Iron Man now, and his strength. Regarding Hammer's concerns, Crocodile looked disdainful. In the end, he is just an ordinary person, and he is not our opponent at all. You just need to agree to the deal between us. Definitely. Our deal is definitely established. We can sign the contract now. Hammer said quickly. Seeing the unkind look on the other party's face, he was afraid that the blade around his neck would directly cut his skin. After fearfully signing a contract with Crocodile that had no legal effect, Hammer respectfully sent the enemy away. Watching these guys leave his sight, Hammer sat down on the ground, with cold sweat breaking out all over his body, making him feel as if he had just been fished out of the water. At the beach house, Tony, who had no idea that he had been targeted, had just completed the renovation of his laboratory. Jarvis, give it a try. As soon as the words ended, Tony stood in the middle of the laboratory, and a steel battle suit suddenly appeared in front of him. From the outside, the steel battle suit looks exactly the same as the real thing, no matter the material, color or gloss. However, when Tony reached out and touched the steel battle suit, he penetrated it without even the slightest touch. Tony even walked himself into the steel battle suit in front of him and passed through the outer layer. Everything inside was exactly the same as the inside of the steel battle suit that Tony often saw. If Tony hadn't known that this was just a holographic projection, he would have thought that the steel battle suit in front of him was real. Sir, the test results are consistent with the predicted results. After special algorithms and ionization of the air, it can affect people's sight and block it. JARVIS said the experimental results. Tony nodded and sighed. I didn't expect that this kind of technology can actually be realized, and it is only a first-level technology. Well, it seems that Stark Industry can have a fist industry. However, this technology still needs to be castrated. Only then can we sell it, otherwise it will be bad if it falls into the hands of someone with intentions. However, for Tony himself, applying this technology in his laboratory will be a huge improvement for his experiments. You must know that the projection technologies he developed before have many flaws, such as being too transparent, having a single tone, and being unable to display design results. For Tony, although it can assist him in experimental development, it is inseparable from the display screen, because many things require a display screen to be displayed. Now, he can declare that he is no longer separated from the display screen, and the high brightness equipment that makes his eyes hurt can be thrown away from his laboratory. With this kind of projection technology that can block the human eye's sight, he can completely turn his laboratory into a free space that he can control. If he wants to show the design results, he can project them directly in the air and see them. The appearance and effect of the final product are just like the real thing, without any falsehood. Moreover, the most incredible thing is that this projection technology can give the projection a certain touch if necessary. Although it is very light, as if a breeze is blowing, it does have an actual touch. In this way, you can use this projection technology to create a view-blocking wall to hide the entrance to the laboratory, or even create a maze in the laboratory. Even if someone breaks into the laboratory, they will definitely ignore it because they don't know that these walls are projections, and the safety of the laboratory will be greatly improved. Countless fantastic ideas flashed through his mind, and Tony even planned to equip this device with his steel battle suit, so that he could complete a lot of operations to confuse the enemy during battle, thereby achieving miraculous effects. He stretched out his hand and patted it, and the projection of the steel battle suit surrounding him instantly turned into particles and dissipated. It's time to get down to business, JARVIS. Construct a real scene from the Hulk's images. Yes, sir. As soon as he finished speaking, JARVIS, which had greatly improved its computing power, immediately analyzed the videos and then remodeled them. Tony waited for 2 seconds, and his laboratory instantly transformed from top to bottom into a slum in Brazil. The sun is shining brightly above the head, and there are dilapidated houses all around. On the right are the soldiers hiding behind the bunker, their weapons spitting flames. On the left is the Hulk, who is blocking the door with his hands, tall and thick, like a green giant's. But the whole world is still and looks very strange. Tony was also amazed by this scene, but he had already expected it and was not shocked by this scene. Instead, he walked up to the soldiers and found that some of their faces were clear and some were blurry. JARVIS, your modeling function needs to be improved. None of these people have good faces. JARVIS explained. Sir, without specific data, spending computing power to create faces is a waste. Tony said noncommittally. Well, thank you for helping me save some electricity bills. After taking a look at the weapons equipped by these soldiers, Tony curled his lips. Hammer Industries equipment. JARVIS replied. Yes. Tony smiled mockingly. Why are you planning to get rid of my Stark Industries weapons so soon? Hammer Industries is not that powerful, right? Their weapons can surpass my design. JARVIS. The weapons inventory that Stark Industries once sold to the military was given priority to the tax bureau and special departments. The military could only choose weapons from Hammer Industries. Poor big-headed soldiers. Shaking his head, Tony stopped paying attention to these things that meant nothing to him. Instead, he stood there and pulled Hulk close to him in the distance. The space around him accelerated, and Tony didn't move, but it looked like he had moved in front of Hulk. Walking around Hulk, he would reach out and touch him from time to time to feel the texture of Hulk's skin. Unfortunately, due to projection technology, it was impossible for him to actually feel the texture of Hulk's skin. At the same time, the modeling of the entire Hulk in front of him only had one layer of skin. After all, There was no detailed data, so it was impossible to be as complete as the steel battle suit. There is no difference at all from the real thing. With a touch of his hand, a data box popped up next to Hulk, which listed relevant data about Hulk calculated based on the performance in the video and military data. What a terrifying creature. Its power can reach 50 tons. The toughness of its body is also abnormal. How does it achieve such strong recovery power? Regarding Hulk's data, Tony really found it hard to believe that it was the result of an industrious scientist. How did Dr. Banner provide the energy needed to support such a powerful creature? If Dr. Banner had the same chakra as those ninjas in the ninja world, or the internal power of Agent Chin, he would be able to understand it a little bit, but Dr. Banner is just an ordinary person who transforms into a Hulk. What kind of energy does it provide? Ah! Gamma rays. Tony suddenly thought of the opportunity for Banner to become Hulk. He felt that if he developed an anti-Hulk battle suit, he should start from this aspect. Just as Tony was deep in thought, a shouting voice suddenly appeared next to him. Ah, where is this? Huh, Chopper. Tony watched in shock as a silly-looking straw hat boy suddenly appeared in his laboratory, yelling in front of Dr. Banner's pet. Chopper, have you seen the other partners? Why don't you say anything? Chopper, are you playing some game? Stop playing, everyone else is gone. As he spoke, he prepared to take a picture of the projected Chopper. Tony was shocked by the sudden appearance of the straw hat boy. When he suddenly felt something above his head, he looked up. I saw a round hole suddenly appeared on the roof of my laboratory. Inside the round hole, it was pitch black, but a pair of deep eyes that made one feel as if one's soul would be sucked away, made Tony instantly feel chilled all over his body. Immediately, those frightening eyes disappeared, and at the same time, the round hole shrank and disappeared in an instant, as if nothing happened just now, if it weren't for the yelling straw hat boy beside him. The straw hat boy reached out to touch Chopper, but was horrified to find that his hand had passed through Chopper's body. This situation scared him so much that his eyes bulged out, his mouth opened, and his chin fell directly to the ground, looking like he couldn't accept it. Tony was shocked by the straw hat boy's performance, and the straw hat boy looked up to the sky and cried loudly, Chopper. Are you dead? This is your soul, so I can't touch you. Chopper, answer me. Don't stay still, even if you are dead, don't play the game of staying still at any time. Listening to the straw hat boy's wails, Tony held his forehead helplessly. He had already guessed that the strange guy in front of him was from another world. As for the dark round hole just now, and the breathtaking pair of eyes in the round hole, it is obvious that he covets this world. Thinking of this, Tony's heart instantly sank. Ever since he activated his account on the Zudian Scientists Forum, he had been worried about the invasion of other worlds. The arrival of the ninja had already sounded the alarm for him before, but now the other party has obviously appeared. Things have reached a critical moment, but his strength. You must improve your forum level as soon as possible, and you can't continue to be so leisurely. With only first-level skills, it is impossible to maximize his own strength, and he must also find some partners who can help him. As for the target, Tony looked at Hulk with an angry face. This was the best choice. The boy in the straw hat was still crying and howling, and Tony was getting annoyed when he heard it. Hey! Boy in the straw hat! Stop howling, this is just a projection, it's fake, it's not the pet you know. Hearing Tony's words, the straw hat boy turned to look at him with tears in his eyes, and asked pitifully, really, Uncle with the mustache? Hearing this title, Tony's eyes jumped. It's definitely true. Also, you can call me Uncle Stark, but you can't call me Uncle Mustache. The boy in front of me looks a bit stupid, even stupider than Uzumaki Naruto. If you want to understand the other person's world and what the eyes behind the round hole are, you can first establish a good relationship with him. The straw hat boy looked at Tony suspiciously. I feel like you are thinking of something bad. But forget it, since you said it was a lie, Uncle Mustache, then it's okay. Ha 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 ha. Tony raised his eyebrows, he sensed ability so keenly. However, Tony did not make it clear, but controlled the projection to play. Definitely, this is the projection equipment I made. Seeing Hulk's broad and fierce attack, the straw hat boy waved his hands excitedly and wanted to join the battle. Rubber pistol, stop. Tony saw that the other party was about to take action and shouted quickly to stop him, but he was obviously a step too slow. The Straw Hat Boy's arm suddenly swung out, then extended in an instant, passed through Hulk's body and Tony's surprised eyes, and hit the wall of the laboratory hard. Boom! Hearing this voice, Tony's face darkened instantly. Although it was blocked due to the projection, Tony knew that he needed to send someone to renovate the laboratory. Ah! The Straw Hat Boy retracted his arm strangely. How did it pass through this big guy? In response to this, Tony suppressed his dissatisfaction. I said, these are projections, they are fake. Why are you crazy? With that said, Tony asked Jarvis to cancel the projection, revealing the original appearance of the laboratory. Seeing that the surrounding environment instantly turned into a closed room, the Straw Hat Boy's eyes were filled with stars. It's amazing. It can actually change. It's so cool. Then, the Straw Hat Boy with starry eyes turned to look at Tony. I have decided, Uncle Mustache, you will be my crew member. Hee hee, that's awesome. I'm the famous Tony Stark. No, just after showing off himself, Tony reacted instantly, and his heart was filled with anger. Who wants to be your crew member? Also, don't give I'm talking to myself. Who are you? I don't know why, but after Tony came into contact with the kid in front of him, he always couldn't control his emotions, and he always felt that his personality began to change in a funny way. Hey, Uncle, you are so interesting. The Straw Hat Boy laughed twice, and then introduced himself. I am Monkey D. Luffy, and I am a pirate. Tony nodded when he heard this. Oh, pirate. No, pirate, how old are you this year? You actually became a pirate. Do your parents not care? Or are your parents also pirates? Unlike Banner's idea, Tony knew about the existence of Otherworld after all, so he immediately accepted Luffy's self-introduction, and was shocked that he had become a pirate in such a dangerous profession at a young age. Hearing Tony's question, Luffy smiled carelessly and replied, I'm 17 years old, I don't know who my parents are. But I have a grandfather, he is a Navy. Tony could only feel his eyes twitching wildly. What kind of family could raise such a weirdo? Forget it if his parents don't know. He might have died when Luffy was a child, but his grandfather was a Marine. How did he become a pirate at such a young age? Shaking his head, Tony felt that he couldn't dwell on this issue any longer. Luffy's life experience could be understood later. The most important thing now was to figure out how the other party got here, and what kind of existence those eyes in the round hole were. So, after Tony notified Stark Industries' construction team to renovate the laboratory, he took Luffy to the living room, and then asked him these questions. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.